Chapter 660. If Yang Kai wasn't mistaken, when this beautiful woman looked at him, her expression was quite respectful. This made him feel a little confused. "Are you a human or a demon?" Chu Jian's eyes trembled violently, his face pale as he angrily asked. "Who knows?" Yang Kai took a deep breath and grinned at Chu Jian. "Why do you know the demon god transformation? Where did you get your demon crests? Why is your demonic chi even purer and more powerful than mine?" Chu Jian couldn't figure it out no matter what and asked in grief and indignation. "I can't tell you that." Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and walked towards him step by step, sneering as he said, "Speaking of which, we have no grievances, but since you've made things difficult for me and even tried to kill me, you'll have to pay the price." "You dare!" Chu Jian roared, his eyes filled with anger. Looking at this human approaching him step by step and feeling the murderous intent surging from his heart, Chu Jian naturally knew what he wanted to do to him. His bones creaked and the demon crests on his face flickered, but no matter how hard Chu Jian tried, he couldn't summon the slightest bit of strength. It was as if under the influence of this human, all his strength had been sealed away in his body and was no longer under his control. This discovery made Chu Jian both shocked and angry, glaring fiercely at Yang Kai and asking in a deep voice, "You despicable human, what did you do to me? Why can't I summon my strength?" "You really can't summon your strength. I thought it was just an illusion, but it turns out it's the truth." Yang Kai gently nodded, his expression calm. The reason why he had approached so slowly was to put pressure on Chu Jian, to test his reaction and see if his intuition was correct. Now it seemed that all of this was true and there was no need for him to fear them. "Kill him for me." Chu Jian's tone was cold as he shouted to his subordinates. He felt that if he didn't kill this human right here, he would likely be unable to control his strength forever. Even until now, Ji Jian still did not understand what method this human used to seal his power. "Master, we also." To Chu Jian's despair, all of his subordinates, whether they were peak immortal ascension boundary masters or transcendent realm masters, were rooted to the spot like wooden stakes, unable to move, only able to watch as Yang Kai acted arrogantly and recklessly. "No one can save you," Yang Kai shouted and his speed increased a lot. A moment later, he arrived in front of Yu Jian. With a ruthless expression, he said coldly, "Today, you must die." Saying so, Yang Kai didn't hesitate as a thick demonic chi appeared behind him, accompanied by a resounding dragon's roar. A giant black flood dragon slowly appeared, circling above Yang Kai's head as it glared down at Chu Jian. "You can't kill me, I am a saint, my body is 10,000 times harder than a rock, you think you can." Whoosh, a jet of black energy shot towards Chu Jian like a serpent, easily piercing a hole in his shoulder. Chu Jian's voice came to an abrupt halt as he felt the sharp pain in his shoulder, his eyes bulging as he stared at Yang Kai, his lips trembling uncontrollably. ****. Wave after wave of energy bombarded Chu Jian's body, and soon, his sturdy body was riddled with holes, blood gushing out from his wounds, dyeing his entire body red. However, the ancient demon clan's intrepid physique allowed Chu Jian to remain standing even after suffering such serious injuries. "Saint Realm." Yang Kai's mouth curled into a grin as he stared at Chu Jian sarcastically. "Speaking of which, I haven't swallowed the soul of a Saint Realm master yet, so I don't know how it tastes. You're lucky to be the first, I'll make good use of your insights. What do you want to do?" Chu Jian's expression changed greatly. At his level of strength, even if his physical body was destroyed, his soul could escape from his body and find another place to settle down. Just like how the old demon had tried to seize Yang Kai's body, Chu Jian had also planned to do the same. The surrounding clansmen were his targets. As long as he quietly hid inside one of them, he might be able to make a comeback. As long as he could figure out the mysteries of Yang Kai's body and was no longer restrained by him, it would be easy for him to kill an immortal ascension boundary 8th stage brat. However, Yang Kai's words made him realize that something was wrong. What he meant was that he wouldn't even let go of Chu Jian's soul. At this moment, Chu Jian felt a sense of despair. "You'll understand soon enough." Yang Kai grinned and the black flood dragon that had been hovering above his head let out a loud roar, opened its bloody maw, and swallowed Chu Jian into its belly. It was obvious that Chu Jian was struggling inside the black dragon's belly, but with his strength sealed, he couldn't escape no matter how hard he tried. Gradually, Chu Jian stopped moving and the black dragon collapsed, disappearing into thin air as a bloody corpse fell from the sky. Master! Chu Jian's subordinates called out in alarm as they stared at this scene in disbelief. A second-order Saint Realm Master had been mercilessly killed without even being able to put up any resistance. Yang Kai's tyrannical strength caused all of them to go cold. From the corpse, a huge amount of spiritual energy secretly emerged. It was Chu Jian's soul. He wanted to take advantage of the moment Yang Kai succeeded to escape into the body of one of his subordinates. However, as soon as his soul left his knowledge sea, he felt an extremely powerful suction force coming from not far away. This suction force was attracting his soul. Just like before, he had no room to resist. At this moment, no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. In the darkness, many people seemed to hear Chu Jian's screams. Yang Kai felt that inside his knowledge sea, there was now a huge mass of spiritual energy. Inside his knowledge sea, Chu Jian's soul avatar appeared and vigilantly scanned his surroundings. A sea of flames. This human's knowledge sea contained a rich fire attribute that burned Chu Jian's soul, causing him unbearable pain. At the center of this sea of flames, there was a 5-colored island that was as beautiful as a paradise. High up in the sky, there was a single closed eye. The moment he saw this eye, Chu Jian instinctively felt a sense of fear and submission, but before he could stabilize his mind, the closed eye slowly opened. This golden and narrow pupil was filled with endless majesty. A golden light shot out from this single eye and struck Chu Jian's soul avatar. An unimaginable pain spread through his body as his soul was purified, causing Chu Jian to scream miserably. Suddenly, some records he had read many years ago flashed across his mind. Chu Jian's eyes widened as he stared at the single eye in the sky and muttered in horror, "Demon Eye of Annihilation? So that's how it is." At this moment, he finally understood why this human was able to use his demon god transformation. Just like the nemesis of the ancient demon clan, none of his clansmen were able to exert any strength in front of him. It turns out that he possesses the demon eye of annihilation. The majesty of the great demon god could not be violated. Before his consciousness completely disappeared, Chu Jian saw and understood everything, but it was already too late. Outside, watching Yang Kai kill Chu Jian, the ancient demon race members couldn't help trembling. They were indeed warlike and did not fear death, but for some unknown reason, a second-order Saint Realm commander had just died. The fear of the unknown caused them to stare at Yang Kai again, their eyes filled with fear and horror. Yang Kai stood in place, feeling the situation inside his knowledge sea. After Chu Jian's consciousness was completely purified, he nodded with satisfaction and swept his eyes around. His gaze was like a butcher staring at a sheep in a pen, causing all the ancient demon race members to involuntarily avert their eyes, not daring to meet his gaze. Yang Kai was considering whether or not to kill all of Chu Jian's subordinates. It wasn't that he was worried they would retaliate. Although these people had always followed Chu Jian and opposed Li Rong, in the world of the ancient demon clan, the strong were always respected. Even the clan's cultivator had the freedom to change who they followed. If Li Rong's means were good enough, she might be able to subdue these people and make them obedient. Moreover, after witnessing today's events, they probably wouldn't dare to find trouble with Yang Kai again. So, whether he killed them or not, they wouldn't retaliate against him. Yang Kai was certain of this. Over the past year, he had also learned a lot about the habits and characteristics of the ancient demon clan from Guan. It was best to ask Li Rong. Yang Kai thought about it for a moment before leaving these people behind and walking towards Li Rong, his steps steady. "His coming!" Hua Mo shouted in horror. As Yang Kai approached, he could feel the pressure suppressing him grow stronger and stronger. Just now, he had been able to muster up some strength, but when Yang Kai approached within 500 meters, Hua Mo found it difficult to even move a finger. "I'll negotiate with him, don't make a sound." Li Rong hurriedly exhorted before turning back to the clansmen she had brought with her, "Don't show any hostility towards her." She didn't know what Yang Kai was planning to do now, so naturally she didn't dare provoke him. Her clansmen nodded solemnly. "Master Li." To Li Rong's relief, Yang Kai stood 10 meters away from her and greeted her warmly. "Don't call me master, just call me Li Rong," Li Rong squeezed out a smile and carefully observed Yang Kai's various reactions. Yang Kai paused for a moment before nodding. I accidentally killed one of your clan's Saint Realm Masters. What do you mean by that? His death is not to be regretted. Li Rong quickly replied. A look of satisfaction appeared on Yang Kai's face. He could feel that Li Rong's words weren't just spoken out of her own accord, but rather from the bottom of her heart. Smiling lightly, he asked, So, you don't intend to blame me? Why would I blame you? Yang Kai chuckled, his eyes narrowing. No matter how you and Chu Jian fight, it's still an internal struggle, while I'm an outsider. Now that Chu Jian died at my hands, it's hard to say if any of our clansmen won't seek revenge for him. I'm the kind of person who would like to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Li Rong's expression changed slightly as she quickly said, I can guarantee that no one will embarrass you over this matter. Hearing Kai Yang's words, it was obvious that even she was suspicious. Oh! Yang Kai raised his brow. Before today, you may have been an outsider to my clan, but from today onwards, you are no longer an outsider. Chapter 661. In front of Yang Kai, who had become the demon race's new leader, this beautiful woman from the ancient demon clan, although she couldn't summon up any strength like the others, she still remained calm and composed. I'm not an outsider. Yang Kai pointed to himself, a stunned look appearing on his face. Li Rong gently nodded. As for the specific reason, I'll explain it to you later. This is not the place to talk. Yang Kai turned his head and looked around. The eruption of the volcano and the raging lightning in the sky seemed to be even more violent than before. After a while, it was likely that even the place where Li Rong and the others were standing would be affected. You're a smart person. You should know that from beginning to end, I had no malicious intent towards you. Li Rong said softly, Now, can you release your demon god transformation and let us escape from here? Saying so, she stared at him with her beautiful eyes. The ancient demon race masters behind Li Rong also stared at Yang Kai, waiting for his answer. It could be said that their lives were now completely in Yang Kai's hands. As long as Yang Kai said no, they would all die. Staring deeply at the beautiful woman in front of him, Yang Kai hesitated for a moment before nodding. I believe you. Li Rong let out a heavy breath, her expression relaxing as she smiled. In the future, you'll be glad you made a wise decision. Yang Kai didn't comment, instead restraining his own demonic aura, and the demon crests that had been crawling all over his body quickly disappeared. All the ancient demon race masters regained control of their own strength and bodies. Hua Mo, protect him, we're leaving this place, Li Rong whispered, her tender body flickering as she rushed over to the unconscious Han Fei and picked her up before turning to Chu Jian's subordinates and shouting, Chu Jian is dead. If you want to follow him, I won't stop you, but if you choose this path, there will be no place for you in this mysterious small world in the future. If you choose to follow me, as long as you're sincere, I won't hold you responsible. Chu Jian's subordinates glanced at each other before kneeling down and shouting in unison, We are willing to obey Master Li's orders. Chu Jian was already dead, so there was no point in them following him. At this time, their lives were more important. Li Rong nodded with satisfaction, holding Han Fei, and quickly flew out. The large group of people quickly left the volcano. Hua Mo's expression was complicated, and even a trace of panic on his face as he stood by Yang Kai's side. Half an hour later, the group scissors, they were. Looking back, the sky over there had already turned fiery red. The aftermath of the volcanic eruption had reached here, causing the earth to shake violently. Everyone wore a look of lingering fear. After briefly treating Han Fei's injuries, the group set off for Demon God Citadel. Along the way, Yang Kai carefully observed everyone's expressions and found that everyone from the ancient demon race was unconsciously distancing themselves from him, seemingly afraid of him. Only Li Rong had a big smile on her face, as if she had encountered something very happy, holding Han Fei in her arms as she gently chatted with Yang Kai. Most of what she told him was about the great demon god recorded in ancient books, some of which even Hua Mo didn't know much about, let alone the ordinary clansman. Everyone treated it as if they were listening to a story and listened with great interest. A day later, Han Fei woke up, and although her injuries had not yet healed, they were no longer serious. When she was unconscious, Yang Kai had become the demon race, so she didn't know what happened next. Now that she saw Li Rong holding her in her arms, she only thought that Li Rong had taken action to deal with Chu Jian, so she didn't ask any questions and simply sat down to rest. 2 days later, everyone returned to Demon God Citadel. Yang Kai still came to the stone room and waited for Li Rong to arrive. There were many things he didn't understand and wanted this beautiful woman to answer for him, but she also said that the volcano wasn't a good place to talk and that she would explain everything in detail later. Demon God Citadel was calm, no one knowing that one of the 4 great commanders had fallen. Yang Kai was quite satisfied with the results of this trip. Dan Tian had stored a lot of yang liquid, so as long as he didn't squander it too much, he wouldn't have to worry about it for at least 10 years. On top of that, he had also obtained an unimaginable amount of crystal stones, a huge fortune. What made Yang Kai most gratified though was that he now knew that his ability to become the demon race could restrain the ancient demon clan. He had been here for more than a year now, and during this time, Li Rong had been very good to him. Unlike the previous alchemists, she had not imprisoned him or relaxed her guard around him and had even sent a third-order transcendent to protect him. However, Yang Kai had always felt like he was under house arrest, a feeling that made him feel somewhat uncomfortable. But now, this feeling was gone. Yang Kai now had the confidence to stand on equal footing with the ancient demon clan and could even make them act according to his whims. The feeling in his heart was different, and his whole body relaxed. The next few days passed peacefully. Li Rong didn't come, but Yang Kai wasn't in a hurry. He knew that with Chu Jian's death, Li Rong would definitely have a lot of things to deal with, so he continued to perform alchemy while waiting patiently. Suddenly, the door to the stone room was pushed open and Guana rushed in with a look of excitement on her face. Rushing over to Yang Kai, her pair of beautiful eyes filled with excitement as she hurriedly asked, "Yang Kai, I heard you killed Chu Jian? Is there such a thing? Who did you hear that from? What Li Daren said, is it true or not? What do you think?" Yang Kai chuckled. "What do I think?" Guana blinked her eyes and curled her lips. "If it were up to me, with your insignificant cultivation, it would be impossible for you to kill that person, but since Master Li said so, you must have done it." Saying so, she became excited again and rushed up to hug Yang Kai's arm, shaking it as she asked coquettishly, "Tell me, how did you kill that bastard? Master Li has always had a headache over him." As she shook him, Yang Kai obviously felt his elbow come into contact with an amazingly soft and supple bosom. Glancing towards those soft peaks, Guana suddenly became vigilant and crossed her arms in front of her chest, gritting her teeth as she shouted, "You rogue, where are you looking?" Yang Kai's face went black. "It's your own problem, okay?" Guana snorted, "You humans really aren't anything good. I'm going to tell Master Li that you tried to molest me. Don't slander me." Yang Kai shouted angrily. Guana rolled her eyes and slyly said, "Then tell me obediently, how did you kill Chu Jian? I'm very curious. Why don't you ask Master Li yourself?" Yang Kai felt a headache coming on. Master Li has been busy taking care of Commander Han Fei these past few days, as well as integrating the people on Chu Jian's side. She's very busy, how could I disturb her? Guana pursed her lips, her bright red cheeks extremely attractive. "I'm also very busy," Yang Kai said seriously. "How are you busy?" Guana looked him over and snorted, "Good, I'll go find Master Li right now and tell her you're a pervert with bad intentions, coveting my beauty and trying to take advantage of me." "Guana, don't be rude." From the void, a soft voice suddenly called out. The air distorted as Li Rong, Han Fei, and Hua Mo appeared. Guana panicked and quickly waved her hands. "Master Li, I was just joking with him, he didn't do anything to me." She was defending Yang Kai like this obviously because she was afraid Li Rong would really believe her and punish Yang Kai. "I know." Li Rong gently nodded, "But don't say he didn't do anything to you. Even if he did, it's your honor." Guana couldn't help opening her mouth wide as she carefully digested Master Li's words. Although she was just an ordinary clansman, because she had always been with Li Rong, her status in Demon God Citadel wasn't low. Coupled with her beauty and good aptitude, many young men in Demon God Citadel had a good impression of her. For example, Pan Lang, who had been injured by Yang Kai last time, was one of them. However, no matter how these people begged, Li Rong never had any intention of betrothing Guana to anyone, because Li Rong felt that none of these clansmen were worthy of Guan. She wanted to find a suitable candidate for Guan or wait until she found someone of her own. But now that Li Rong had actually said such a thing, how could Guan not be shocked? How could it be an honor to be taken advantage of by a human? Sorry for making you wait so long, I really couldn't get away. Li Rong nodded gently to Yang Kai. It's fine, I have nothing to do anyway, Yang Kai chuckled. Guan frowned slightly. She noticed that Master Li's attitude towards this human was somewhat different this time. She couldn't explain why, but Guan felt that when Master Li was facing this human, her expression was a bit more reserved and respectful. This sudden thought gave her quite a fright. Not only her, but Han Fei and Hua Mo also couldn't understand, their faces filled with suspicion. Even if this human could display his demon god transformation and restrain the ancient demon clan, was there any need to be so polite? Secretly learning the demon god transformation with his human body, not killing him was already being merciful. Han Fei, Hua Mo, I know you have the same doubts in your hearts as this master. Master! With the exception of Li Rong, everyone in the room called out in unison as they stared towards Yang Kai. What are you looking at me for? I'm also confused right now. Yang Kai was speechless. Now it's time to answer your questions. Li Rong smiled lightly. Sit down. Saying so, she sat down cross-legged in front of Yang Kai. Han Fei and Hua Mo glanced at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes, only able to follow Li Rong and sit next to Yang Kai. Li Rong looked at Yang Kai gently and said, I'll have to trouble you to lower your soul's defenses. We need to enter your knowledge sea. Yang Kai's eyes narrowed. Enter my knowledge sea? Only there will I be able to explain myself clearly and convince Han Fei and Hua Mo, the two great commanders, to believe me. Aren't you afraid? Yang Kai stared at Li Rong meaningfully. Li Rong slowly shook her head. As long as it has no malicious intent towards you, it won't hurt us. Didn't I come out unscathed last time? Han Fei and Hua Mo both wore confused expressions, not understanding what Yang Kai and Li Rong were talking about or who they were referring to. Yang Kai frowned and hesitated for a moment before saying, You can enter my knowledge sea, but don't look through my memories. If anyone dares do so, don't blame me for being impolite. Chapter 662. Today, the two of them were even stronger. Naturally, Li Rong nodded firmly. We wouldn't be so bored. Who cares? Han Fei spat disdainfully. Hua Mo also smiled. This old master has no such vile interests. Then come in. Yang Kai nodded, closed his eyes, and immersed his divine sense into his knowledge sea, transforming into his soul avatar and releasing his knowledge sea's defenses. In the next moment, he noticed 3 streaks of energy pouring into his knowledge sea. Immediately, the soul avatars of the 3 great commanders of the ancient demon clan appeared in front of him. For a time, no one in the stone room moved. Guan stood to the side, pursing her lips anxiously as she glanced back and forth between the two of them. Eventually, she couldn't help waving her fist towards Yang Kai and snorting lightly. She also knew that what the 3 great commanders were discussing with this human at this moment was definitely confidential. With her status, she wasn't qualified to intervene, so naturally, she didn't dare to break into Yang Kai's knowledge sea and could only sit outside and wait. Inside his knowledge sea, a scorching hot aura enveloped him. Whether it was Li Rong, Han Fei, or Hua Mo, all of them couldn't help releasing their spiritual energy to resist this heat, their brow furrowed. Their ancient demon clan hated this kind of aura the most. However, Li Rong was more surprised. The last time she came here, Yang Kai's conflagrated knowledge sea had not been as strong as it was now, but at this moment, the scorching heat here gave her some pressure. She understood that after Yang Kai swallowed the dozen or so conflagrated knowledge seas of others, his divine sense had greatly improved. Can you clear this place so we can talk in peace? Li Rong proposed. Yang Kai thought about it for a moment and knew what they were afraid of, so he pointed to the distance and said, Let's go there, there's no conflagrated knowledge sea there. Following the direction he pointed, the 3 of them saw a 5-colored island standing in the middle of the sea of flames. Eyes lighting up, they all followed Yang Kai to the island. As soon as their soul avatars set foot on this 5-colored island, the 3 great commanders of the ancient demon clan were shocked. How is it that my soul can absorb energy from your knowledge sea? Han Fei looked at Yang Kai in surprise. I can also absorb energy. Hua Mo also looked over in shock. What is this 5-colored treasure island? Li Rong asked with a smile on her face. She naturally felt that the reason the three of them were able to absorb spiritual energy from Yang Kai's knowledge sea because of this island. What Yang Kai, Yang Kai's, Yang Kai, Yang Kai, Yang Kai, Yang, Yang. The 5-colored soul-warming lotus was constantly nourishing one's soul, so when the three of them set foot here, of course they would obtain some benefits, but these benefits were very small. However, Yang Kai, as the owner of the 5-colored soul-warming lotus, was different. Over the years, even this small amount of energy would accumulate to a point that would make one's eyes go red with envy. I spoke too much, Li Rong gently nodded, but I found that you have a lot of good things on you. Every man has his own secrets. Yang Kai said lightly, it's time for me to figure it out. I'm very curious about your attitude, and I think Hua Mo and Han Fei are the same. Hearing him say this, Hua Mo and Han Fei also quickly turned their eyes to Li Rong. Li Rong pursed her lips and smiled, stretching out her jade-white hand and pointing towards the sky. Look over there. Following the direction she was pointing, Hua Mo and Han Fei both stared. High up in the sky, a pair of closed eyes floated there. The moment they looked towards this pair of eyes, Hua Mo and Han Fei couldn't help feeling a sense of unease and subservience. Without knowing why, the two of them felt their soul avatars tremble slightly. Can you make it open like last time? Li Rong turned to Yang Kai and asked. Yang Kai nodded lightly and passed on a message. The tightly shut eye slowly opened, and a long and majestic golden pupil entered the eyes of the three people. It was as if a supreme master was looking down coldly at them with an indifferent gaze. Under such a gaze, no matter who it was, they couldn't help feeling extremely small, as if they would crumble into dust and disappear from this world. Hua Mo and Han Fei trembled even more, and even Li Rong's tender body couldn't help trembling slightly. You should recognize what this is, right? Li Rong asked excitedly, gasping for breath as she stared at the single eye. Even if she felt uncomfortable, even if she wanted to kneel down and worship it, she still refused to look away. The demon eye of annihilation? After a dozen breaths of silence, Hua Mo suddenly exclaimed. Han Fei trembled, her expression becoming as excited as Li Rong as she hurriedly asked, is this really the demon eye of annihilation? There's no mistake, it's exactly the same as what was recorded in the ancient records left behind by our ancestors. Last time, when it hit me with that golden light, I could feel that kind of destructive power. Besides the demon eye of annihilation, there is no other explanation for it. Li Rong's chest heaved violently, showing just how restless her heart was. The heavens have eyes. This old master was actually able to see the demon eye of annihilation in his lifetime. Hua Mo sobbed and fell to his knees, kowtowing towards the single eye in the sky. Immediately afterwards, Li Rong did the same. Yang Kai's expression became strange as he stared blankly, speechless for a moment. All of a sudden, 3 golden lights shot out from the single eye and hit the soul avatars of the trio with unparalleled accuracy. Yang Kai's expression changed, but he quickly stabilized his mind. Because he found that after being hit by this golden light, not only did the 3 soul avatars not disappear, but they also showed no signs of damage. Instead, they all closed their eyes in ecstasy, as if they had been enlightened. Yang Kai secretly observed them and knew that they must have obtained something from this golden light, but he didn't interrupt them and simply waited quietly. The solitary golden eye slowly closed. After waiting for a long time, the 3 great commanders opened their eyes one after another. At this moment, Yang Kai clearly noticed that their soul avatars were much stronger than before. It seemed that the benefits they had obtained were not small. Yang Kai pondered for a moment. At this moment, he also understood that this solitary golden eye had a deep relationship with the ancient demon clan, but he still didn't know what kind of relationship there was between them. The 3 soul avatars all noticed the changes in their bodies and their expressions filled with excitement and joy. Glancing at each other, they all respectfully turned to Yang Kai and cupped their fists. Greetings, Master. Yang Kai's brow furrowed as he forced a smile. Hey, what's going on here? Are you sure you're not mistaken? There's no mistake, from today onwards, you are the leader of my ancient demon clan. Li Rong stared at Yang Kai with a scorching gaze. Surprisingly, Hua Mo and Han Fei didn't try to refute this and instead both nodded solemnly. Isn't this a bit too much? Yang Kai's brow furrowed even deeper. I am a human, you belong to the demon race, the blood flowing in our bodies is fundamentally different. How could I be the leader of your ancient demon clan? Master, please calm down, I will explain in detail. Li Rong smiled lightly and pointed to the sky. May I ask, where did Master obtain this demon eye of annihilation? Yang Kai thought about it for a moment before shaking his head. It's not convenient to say. Although he could casually fabricate a reason, playing such a trick in front of 3 Saint Realm Masters was a bit naive. Since they were so sincere to him, Yang Kai didn't want to deceive them. Then I won't ask any more questions. Li Rong didn't mind, chuckling lightly. Master still has some doubts about us, that's only natural, but if you really want to reveal everything, then we'll have to consider whether or not we should hand over the ancient demon clan to someone with no ulterior motives. Your performance is truly worthy of Great Demon God's choice. Great Demon God? Yang Kai raised his brow. What does this have to do with him? Because the demon eye of annihilation is the eye of Great Demon God. Li Rong replied. Yang Kai froze on the spot. Master, you've lived in Demon God Citadel for more than a year now, so you should have heard a lot of rumors about Great Demon God. Yang Kai nodded lightly. On the way back from the volcano, Li Rong had also told him more about Great Demon God. It turned out she hadn't just casually mentioned him, she had deliberately wanted him to know more about Great Demon God. Then it'll be easier for me to explain. Li Rong took a deep breath and continued. Great Demon God was a master whose name shook the ancient times. In all of Tongxian realm, of all the recorded masters, no one was able to compare with Great Demon God. In his era, the demon race was the most powerful race, and all other races were vassals of the demon race. In the demon race, my ancient demon clan had the noblest bloodline and was the servant of Great Demon God. When Li Rong said this, her face filled with pride, even Han Fei and Hua Mo showed a look of reminiscence. Great Demon God's cultivation was extremely tyrannical, no one was his opponent. It was precisely because his strength was so tyrannical that no one could match him that he wanted to escape from this world and see if there was a higher realm. There are ancient records that state that he successfully left this world and went to a place we do not know of. However, there are also ancient records that state that he failed and his soul was destroyed. Since his last appearance, no one knows where he went. But now it seems that Great Demon God really failed, otherwise, he would not have left behind the demon eye of annihilation. Li Rong said with a sad look on her face, before Great Demon God left, he sealed my clan in this mysterious small world because he knew that once he left, the demon race would weaken and the other races would retaliate. As servants of Great Demon God, we would face the threat of extinction. This is why my clan chose to live in this mysterious small world. Great Demon God did not intend to imprison us here forever and deliberately left behind a solution. By the time we successfully leave this mysterious small world, the world may have already forgotten about the ancient demon clan and the loyal servants of Great Demon God. Although Great Demon God is no longer here, even one of his eyes is not something that anyone can obtain casually. You being able to obtain the demon eye of annihilation means that Great Demon God has approved of you. Since Great Demon God has approved of you, as his servant, my ancient demon clan will naturally also approve of you. Therefore, from now on, you are the master of my ancient demon clan. We will serve you just as our ancestors served Great Demon God. You must have been sent here by Great Demon God to save my clan from this world, Li Rong said solemnly. Chapter 663. After listening to Li Rong's explanation, Yang Kai remained silent for a long time. If what this woman said was true, Yang Kai could understand why her attitude towards him had suddenly changed. It was because she had recognized the demon eye of annihilation of Great Demon God. However, her one-sided statement was not enough to convince him. That's really a coincidence. The reason I appeared here was entirely because I was accidentally captured by the coffin-carrying man. Are you sure this thing in my knowledge sea is the demon eye of annihilation? I'm sure. This time, not only did Li Rong nod, But even Hua Mo and Han Fei also showed a look of affirmation. We have the blood of the ancient demons flowing through our veins. Our ancestors were servants who served great demon god. This is something we can't be mistaken about. Besides, who can be sure this isn't the result of great demon god's guidance? Even so, there's no need for you to follow the practices of your ancestors and serve me as your master, that kind of thing. Haha, with all due respect, I'm not very interested. Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Li Rong was surprised, but after thinking about it, she suddenly understood what Yang Kai was afraid of. Although his demon god transformation could restrain all the members of the ancient demon race, his cultivation was still only at the immortal ascension boundary 8th stage. Without the demon god transformation, many of her clansmen could easily kill him. If one wanted an entire race to submit, it was impossible to do so without absolute strength. If Master is worried about your own strength, then there's no need for you to worry. The three of us are not optimistic about your current strength, but rather about your future. I believe that since the demon eye of annihilation has chosen you, your future achievements will not be worse than great demon gods. You think too highly of me. Yang Kai shook his head and smiled bitterly, his expression becoming solemn as he said, let's not talk about this for now. I'm actually more interested in something else. Please speak, Master. Li Rong didn't have any intention of forcing Yang Kai to agree right now. She knew that if she pushed him too hard, it would only be counterproductive. Right now, this human was still suspicious of her ancient demon clan. I heard that in the demon god fortress, there are some martial skills that specialize in cultivating the demon god transformation. Li Rong smiled brightly and said, even if Master didn't ask, I would have opened these secret books to you. Master's demon god transformation should have been obtained from the demon eye of annihilation, right? Since that's the case, then this is the most orthodox form of the demon god transformation. Master has the power of the great demon god flowing within his body, so he should have some understanding of this. Yang Kai remained silent. Li Rong's guess was wrong. Before coming to this small sealed world, he didn't even know what the demon god transformation was. Moreover, the method he used to become the demon race was not obtained from the demon eye of annihilation, but from the unyielding golden skeleton. Master, I'll be honest with you. Please don't be angry. Li Rong covered her mouth and chuckled as she observed Yang Kai's expression. Yang Kai simply shrugged his shoulders. Although your demon god transformation is overbearing and possesses enough power to restrain all of my clan's strength, your understanding of it seems to be quite shallow and you can't display its full power. Let me put it simply, your demon god transformation is still stuck in its most basic stage. Yang Kai was stunned for a moment before quickly reacting. You mean, my demon god transformation can still give me more power? En. Li Rong nodded. If you continue to be like this in the future, how can my ancient demon clan protect you and fight alongside you? When Yang Kai used his demon god transformation, all of the ancient demon clan's members were turned into wooden dummies. If they really encountered an enemy, they would likely die in vain. Even a character as strong as Li Rong couldn't move. Any cultivator could easily kill her. At the very least, you need to cultivate your demon god transformation to the second stage. Only by reaching the second stage will you be able to restrain the power of my clan. When that time comes, we can fight side by side. Li Rong said solemnly. That's quite interesting. Yang Kai smiled. Before he had absolute strength to subdue the ancient demon clan, Yang Kai wasn't interested in Li Rong and the others declaring their willingness to serve him because his own strength wasn't enough to convince them. Even if he agreed, if he couldn't achieve anything, it would only cause them to slowly despise him. After experiencing the Yang family's inheritance war, Yang Kai had some understanding of the methods of his subordinates. But regarding the demon god transformation, he really cared about it. Anything that could increase his strength, Yang Kai would never let go of. You can find me at any time and ask for those secret scriptures. Li Rong gently nodded. Tomorrow, you've told me so much today, I need to think about it. Yang Kai said. Very well, subordinate will wait for Master's arrival. There's no need to call me that, I feel a bit awkward. Yang Kai frowned. The more he thought about the word Master, the more uncomfortable he felt. Then, what do you want to call me? We'll do as you wish. Just like before. Yang Kai smiled. If your clansmen hear you call me master, I'm afraid they'll think differently and will likely cause some unnecessary disputes. Li Rong couldn't help laughing. You worry too much. The ancient demon clan has always followed the orders of its great commanders. As long as the three of us agree, everyone will agree, but since you insist, I won't force you. What needs to be said has been said. You can rest now, we'll take our leave. Yang Kai nodded lightly. Li Rong and Hua Mo nodded to Yang Kai before quickly withdrawing. Han Fei didn't leave, her expression slightly complicated as she stood in place. What's the matter? Yang Kai raised his brow. Nothing, I just want to thank you for saving me under the volcano. You also saved me, no one owes anyone anything. Yang Kai slowly shook his head. Good, in a few days I'll send you something, it may be of some help to you. What is it? You'll know when the time comes, Han Fei said, quickly withdrawing from Yang Kai's knowledge sea. When Yang Kai opened his eyes again, he found that the three great commanders had not left and were still standing in front of him. Li Rong smiled and said, I forgot to ask, do you want to change your residence? You can use this place as a pill room for alchemy. Before, when she was unable to determine Yang Kai's mysteries, even though Li Rong cared about him, she hadn't provided him with good conditions so as not to arouse suspicion among her subordinates. Now that she had determined this, she naturally wanted to give Yang Kai a more comfortable environment. No need, this place is quite convenient. If I want to perform alchemy, I can start at any time. Yang Kai shook his head faintly. About alchemy? Li Rong's expression became a little awkward. Before, it was a cooperative transaction between you and my clan, but now it is my clan's request, if you don't want to. You don't have to worry about that, I originally wanted to study alchemy, so I must thank you for providing me with such a good opportunity. Hearing this, Li Rong couldn't help breathing a sigh of relief as she turned a grateful look towards Yang Kai. Now that their identities were different, Li Rong naturally couldn't ask Yang Kai to continue studying the alchemic way. If he refused, Li Rong couldn't do anything about it. Do you want me to send a few maidservants to serve you? My clan's girls, whether it's in terms of appearance or temperament, are no worse than humans. Li Rong bit her thin lip and asked with a slight blush. Hua Mo's expression remained indifferent, as if he felt that it was only natural for humans to be lustful. On the other hand, Han Fei couldn't help coughing lightly, her expression unnatural as she averted her gaze. Guan is enough, there's no need for anyone else. Yang Kai knew what Li Rong was referring to. As a young man, it was only natural for him to have such needs. After coming here for more than a year, Yang Kai hadn't even touched a single woman. Li Rong was obviously considering his feelings, perhaps she had some deeper thoughts and arrangements. If Yang Kai could develop feelings for one of the clan's girls, it would be easier for them to tie her and Yang Kai together. Good. Li Rong gently nodded, a look of satisfaction flashing across the depths of her eyes, turning to Guan and saying, just like before, take care of him and satisfy any request he makes. Any request? What about excessive requests? Guan was stunned. That's still enough, his words are orders. Li Rong shouted. Guan was dumbfounded. The last time she had been sent here to take care of Yang Kai, Li Rong had told her that as long as this human's request wasn't excessive, she should try her best to satisfy him, but now, she was actually telling her to satisfy any request he may. Master Li's attitude towards this human was really different. While Guan was in a daze, Li Rong and the others had already left. By the time she recovered, only Yang Kai and her were left in the stone room. Unable to stop herself from snorting, Guan walked over like a little tiger and grit her teeth. You bastard, what did you say to my master? Why is master taking care of you so much now? We didn't say anything, we were just chatting. Humans really are insidious and cunning. Guan stared at him in disbelief before snorting. Master said to satisfy any request you make. You wouldn't make any shameless request, would you? I wouldn't. You really wouldn't. I don't believe you, swear you'll show me. Yang Kai took a deep breath, feeling a headache coming on from this young girl's constant chatter. Thinking about it for a moment, he took out a crystal stone and handed it to Guan. Go play by yourself, don't bother me. Guan's face filled with disdain as she spat. You want to buy me with a single crystal stone? Are you looking down on me too much? Yang Kai handed her another crystal stone. Guan Er happily took it and disappeared into the distance. The stone room suddenly became quiet again. Recalling the conversation he had with the three great commanders in his knowledge sea just now, Yang Kai still couldn't quite wrap his head around it. This past year, although he had been concentrating on studying alchemy, he had also been considering his future plans. He couldn't be imprisoned here by the ancient demon clan for the rest of his life. Unexpectedly, an unexpected turn of events had allowed him to completely grasp the initiative. Now, he no longer had to worry about whether he would be imprisoned or not. How much of Li Rong's words could be trusted, Yang Kai didn't know, but Yang Kai felt that this woman had no need to deceive him, because her showing weakness and goodwill wouldn't do her any good. Yang Kai still subconsciously trusted her. However, because of this conversation, Yang Kai understood many of the questions he had been wondering about for many years. At the very least, he understood that the original owner of the wordless Black Book was Great Demon God. Chapter 664. The wordless Black Book was obtained by Yang Kai by accident. At first, it was just shaped like a pillow. But when he refused to surrender in his sleep, he unlocked the mysteries of the wordless Black Book. The reason why Yang Kai was able to determine that the original owner of this wordless Black Book was Great Demon God was because Han Fei had told him a few days ago. She said that in the past, the great demonic god had obtained a large piece of soul-subduing stone from somewhere. No one knew what he had used it for, but he had left behind some scraps. Those scraps had been combined with other precious materials to create 4 void rings, which were kept by the 4 great commanders. Now it seemed that the large piece of tranquil soul stone that Great Demon God had obtained was used to make this wordless Black Book. The materials used to make this wordless Black Book and the void rings of the 4 great commanders were the same. In other words, the owner of the unyielding golden skeleton was also Great Demon God. He wanted to escape from this world and go to a higher dimension, but in the end, he failed. His physical body was destroyed, but his bone body was preserved. Because it was the bone body of the Great Demon God, the unyielding golden skeleton was filled with evil power. The unyielding golden skeleton's secret art, incense burner, true yang secret art, myriad drug milk, and demon eye of annihilation were all arranged by Great Demon God. However, Yang Kai's path of growth had somewhat deviated from his plans. When he was in Medicine King's Valley, he obtained the true alchemic way, but this was not what Great Demon God wanted to give him. Perhaps the Great Demon God hoped that his successor could wholeheartedly walk to the peak of the martial Tao and not be distracted by alchemy. Thinking about this, Yang Kai's eyes lit up as he suddenly recalled something. Guan Er had once told him that their ancient demon clan had once produced a top alchemist, an existence that no alchemy grandmaster could compare to. So it seemed that this alchemist was also Great Demon God. Otherwise, where would he obtain the true alchemic way? Although it was only a guess, there was a high possibility it was the case. Yang Kai's eyes lit up as his thoughts raced, carefully sorting out the information he had grasped, his mind gradually becoming clear. Master Li, although he possesses the demon eye of annihilation, isn't it a bit too hasty to hand my clan over to him just because of that? After leaving the stone room, Hua Mo suddenly said with a worried expression on his face. Although Hua Mo had been quite excited when he saw the demon eye of annihilation, after careful consideration, he still felt that Li Rong's decision was somewhat inappropriate. There are many suspicious points about him. Just relying on his demon eye of annihilation won't be enough to determine anything, but the most important thing is that he is human. Han Fei also nodded gently, agreeing with Hua Mo's words. Li Rong smiled faintly. Since the demon eye of annihilation chose him, it is Great Demon God's decision. All we need to do is follow our ancestors' instructions. Furthermore, he is a human now, but in the future, it's hard to say. Hua Mo and Han Fei heard this and fell silent. But his performance is still satisfactory. Hua Mo pondered for a moment before nodding. I thought that a young man like him, upon hearing that the ancient demon clan would pledge loyalty to him, would immediately agree, but I never expected he would actually refuse. Not only did he refuse, but from beginning to end, he didn't show much excitement. It was as if for him, the loyalty of the ancient demon clan didn't matter at all. If he wasn't too stupid or lacking in self-confidence, Then he had experienced many trials and tribulations and had a deep understanding of himself. Such a person couldn't be stupid or lacking in self-confidence. The scene of him killing Chu Jian still flashed through Hua Mo's mind from time to time, causing him to shudder. Then there was only one explanation left. He knew himself very well, and before he had absolute confidence, he would not make rash decisions. Such a person often relied only on their own ability to do things and would not pin their hopes on help they could not control. That's why Great Demon God's vision isn't bad. Li Rong smiled happily. Just wait and see. In less than 5 years, my clan will be able to leave this mysterious small world and see the world our ancestors once lived in. Hua Mo and Han Fei's expression shook as their eyes filled with expectation. How many years had it been since they were sealed in this mysterious small world by Great Demon God? At least several thousand years had passed, and the world had long forgotten that there was once a clan that served Great Demon God as his most loyal servants. The sun, moon, stars, rivers, and oceans recorded in ancient books could only be imagined by their clansmen. None of them had ever seen such magical scenes. The lifelong dream of every clansman was to leave this place and see the outside world for themselves. I hope that there will be such a day in my lifetime. Hua Mo took a deep breath and calmed his excitement. Demon God Citadel, inside an octagonal building. This building wasn't very tall, but it had a unique style and was quite elegant. The 8 corners of the building were decorated with beautiful decorations, and the wooden windows were carved with many patterns of birds and beasts. Under the lead of Guan Yang Kai walked into the octagonal building. After a night of contemplation, Yang Kai had finally sorted out his thoughts. No matter what the ancient demon clan wanted to do, Yang Kai's goal had always been to become stronger. This had never changed. Only by becoming stronger than anyone else could he survive in this world. Only by becoming stronger than anyone else could he do what he wanted to do and not be restrained by others. Therefore, the ancient demon clan's attitude towards him didn't matter. All he needed to do was stick to his own path. Master is inside, you can go in yourself. Guan gestured and stood outside the door. Yang Kai nodded gently and stepped inside. Inside the building, Li Rong was sitting in a chair behind a table. Seeing Yang Kai arrive, she quickly stood up and walked over to greet him with a smile. You've come? I've already prepared everything for you. Li Rong pointed to the several books on the table. These are all about the demon god transformation. Feel free to read them. Many thanks. Li Rong's beautiful eyes flashed as she smiled. I can comply with your request and not call you master, but you don't need to be so polite to us. It's a bit too formal. Yang Kai remained indifferent, hesitating for a moment before saying, then we'll both be at ease. Li Rong smiled lightly. Yang Kai stepped forward, picked up the books, and sat down directly in the chair Li Rong had been sitting in before, flipping through them. These books were indeed all about the demon god transformation, teaching the ancient demon clan how to cultivate the demon god transformation and how to control the deployment of their demon crests in order to enhance their combat effectiveness. Each book was quite precious and not all of the clan members had access to them. Yang Kai only flipped through them for a moment before his eyes gradually brightened, a look of joy filling his face. These books contained profound insights into the demon god transformation, and without exception, they were all about the essence of the demon god transformation. Yang Kai acted as if he had obtained a priceless treasure and quickly immersed himself in reading these books, forgetting to eat and sleep. Seeing him enter this state so quickly, Li Rong smiled and walked over to pour a cup of tea for Yang Kai before sitting down quietly and waiting. Immersing one's consciousness into the demon crests, guiding them to spread throughout one's body, using one's own evil attribute to stimulate the latent power within these demon crests to enhance one's strength. In the initial stage, the demon crests would only spread throughout one's body, just like Yang Kai's current state after using the demon god transformation. In the second stage, the demon crests would be refined into one's physique. At that point, even if one used the demon god transformation, their appearance would not change. What Li Rong wanted Yang Kai to do was quickly cultivate to the second stage. At this stage, even if he used the demon god transformation in front of the ancient demon clan members, it would not affect them, rendering them unable to move and unable to use their strength. In the third stage, the demon crests would be completely integrated into one's bones, bringing about even greater and stronger improvements. Yang Kai stared at these books in a daze. Because he had experienced the demon god transformation many times before, he was able to quickly grasp the secrets contained in these books. The rest could only be obtained through cultivation. Taking a deep breath, Yang Kai put down the last book in front of him and after a moment, suddenly opened his eyes and stared at Li Rong, asking, "Inside Demon God Citadel, is there a suitable place for me to enter retreat and cultivate the demon god transformation?" "It's already been prepared," Li Rong smiled, "come with me." Saying so, she walked over to a nearby bookshelf and with a wave of her hand, the bookshelf opened and revealed a door leading underground. Li Rong stepped inside, Yang Kai following closely behind. There should be some kind of secret room down below as the passage was dotted with torches, making it not dark at all. After walking for a long time, a huge open secret room suddenly appeared before Yang Kai's eyes. This secret room was even larger than the stone room he used to perform alchemy. Near the edge of the room, there were a number of black stones. Faintly, Yang Kai perceived a faint energy from these stones. "This is the place where I usually practice my martial skills. Here, you can use the demon god transformation without worry. You don't have to worry about affecting my clansmen." Li Rong explained softly, pointing to the black stone pillars. "Those are forbidden stones. They are innately capable of suppressing the transmission of energy. When you enter, I will use them to open a barrier." "I understand, let's begin." Yang Kai couldn't wait any longer, and as soon as he finished speaking, he leapt forward and landed firmly in the middle of the room. Li Rong smiled and shook her head, muttering softly, "So impatient." Saying so, she casually sent out streams of energy into the surrounding forbidden stones. Soon, a semicircular transparent barrier appeared, completely enveloping the area around the forbidden stones. Yang Kai looked at Li Rong and the latter nodded gently. Yang Kai took off his clothes and sat down cross-legged, stretching out his right hand and pointing to his forehead. "Become the demon race." Heaven and earth trembled as ripples appeared on the barrier formed by the forbidden silent stone. On Yang Kai's naked upper body, pitch-black demon crests quickly appeared. These demon crests were like agile snakes, crawling all over his body, forming a complex pattern filled with a demonic aura. His vitality madly rose, his combat strength madly increasing. Yang Kai could clearly feel how powerful he was at this moment. In the distance, Li Rong's beautiful eyes flashed with an unusual light as she stared blankly, muttering, "Sure enough, it's a little different." Chapter 665. Although Yang Kai's demon god transformation and the demon god transformation of the ancient demon clan looked similar, Li Rong still noticed the differences. It was impossible for an ordinary clansman's demon god transformation to cover such a large area. Even for someone as strong as Li Rong, when she displayed her demon god transformation, only her abdomen, chest, neck, and face would be covered by demon crests. However, this human had demon crests all over his back, and judging from the condition of his waist, there were definitely demon crests on his lower body as well. His demon crests were fully developed. This was the most orthodox form of the demon god transformation. This discovery made Li Rong feel very envious. Inside the barrier, Yang Kai carefully sensed the changes in his body, identifying the traces of his demon crests, immersing himself in controlling them, trying to integrate them into his body and brand them into his physique. Once he successfully branded his demon crests into his physique and integrated them into his bloodline, he would successfully reach the second stage, at which time his strength would increase even further. This was a very difficult task, but Yang Kai's demeanor remained meticulous and focused. Time passed by. 10 days later, a beautiful figure appeared in the underground chamber. Li Rong, who had been paying close attention to Yang Kai's progress, turned her head and saw that Han Fei had also come. Gently nodding, Li Rong turned her attention back to Yang Kai. "Why did you take off all your clothes?" Han Fei glanced over at Yang Kai inside the barrier and muttered discontentedly, her face flushed red. "It's convenient for me to observe the progress of my demon crests, haha." Li Rong smiled. "What are you afraid of? There's an age gap between us, even if he took off all his clothes it wouldn't be a problem." Han Fei's expression became somewhat unnatural as she asked softly, "How is it progressing?" "Not bad. Li Rong nodded with satisfaction. At least he can integrate some of his demon crests into his physique. In another month, he should be able to reach the second stage. So fast. Han Fei was deeply shocked. That's why Great Demon God's vision isn't bad. If his aptitude wasn't good enough, how could Great Demon God have given him the demon eye of annihilation? It seems I underestimated him. Han Fei nodded solemnly. I used to think he just had good luck. Then it's time to re-examine him. In the future, my clan will probably work under him. Li Rong chuckled, suddenly turning to look at the jade box in Han Fei's hand and asked curiously, Great Demon God, what did you bring him? Han Fei nodded, the thing I promised him a few days ago. Saying so, Han Fei reached out and opened the jade box before quickly closing it. Li Rong couldn't help covering her mouth in shock. Isn't that the wind and thunder wings? Why are you giving him this? Demon God crest. He may be able to refine this thing. Han Fei smiled lightly. God, why do you say that? Even we can't refine them, Li Rong asked curiously. The wind and thunder wings were a pair of strange wings that contained heavenly Tao principles. Yang Kai didn't know which senior of the ancient demon clan had obtained them, nor did he know where they came from, but after passing through many hands, they eventually fell into Han Fei's hands. Han Fei had been trying to refine this pair of wind and thunder wings for many years, but every time, she had failed. This pair of wind and thunder wings was extremely valuable and was one of the few supreme treasures of the ancient demon clan. Li Rong had also tried to refine them many years ago, but like Han Fei, she was rejected by the wind and thunder wings and had no choice but to give up. But now, Han Fei had actually taken them out and was about to give them to Yang Kai. Even if we can refine them, he won't necessarily be able to because he also has a pair of wings that contain heavenly Tao principles. He also has wings. Li Rong was stunned. Han Fei nodded gently, immediately explaining what had happened under the volcano. Li Rong's beautiful eyes flashed as she listened, hesitating for a long time before asking, if that's the case, he really might be able to refine them, but are you willing? You don't seem to be optimistic about his chances, do you? Han Fei smiled lightly. In any case, they're just sitting there. If he can't refine them, it's because he doesn't have the ability to do so. If he can refine them, I'll thank him for saving my life. On top of that, it was because of him that my clan was able to obtain so many crystal stones. Compared to the development of my clan, this pair of dusty wind and thunder wings is nothing. Li Rong nodded lightly. Let's wait for him to come out. Looking at his posture, it seems he won't give up until he reaches the second stage. Han Fei smiled lightly and no longer said anything, standing in the distance with Li Rong and waiting quietly. One was mature and plump while the other was as cold as ice. These two beautiful women standing together were quite pleasing to the eye. Yang Kai, however, was completely unaware of this, his entire mind completely immersed in his demon crests, desperately trying to control them, wriggling his flesh and blood as he tried to brand his demon crests. The saying that there was no flowing time great emperor in cultivation was not a lie. Yang Kai was only paying attention to the progress of his demon god transformation and had no idea how much time had passed. Little by little progress, although slow, Yang Kai was quite happy. He was finally able to effectively control his demon crests. A month passed by quickly, but Li Rong and Han Fei, who were waiting outside the barrier, didn't show the slightest anxiety. Instead, they were stunned by Yang Kai's performance. Using the demon god transformation could greatly increase the strength of the ancient demon clan's clansmen, but it also placed a heavy burden on their bodies. Only the powerful physiques of the ancient demon clan were able to withstand it. But for ordinary clansmen, after using the demon god transformation, they would only be able to maintain it for an hour before reaching their limit. Even someone as strong as Li Rong couldn't maintain it indefinitely. But Yang Kai was able to do it. Since he began using the demon god transformation a month and a half ago, he had not dispersed his demon crests. The strength of his physique seemed to have surpassed that of any other race, even the ancient demon clan couldn't compare. What a freak! Han Fei slowly shook her head. Suddenly, a humming sound came from inside the barrier and the last demon crests covering Yang Kai's body disappeared. His momentum and vitality not only did not fall but instead rose to a whole new level. Li Rong's beautiful eyes lit up as she exclaimed, "Success!" After a month and a half of continuous cultivation, Yang Kai had finally reached the second stage of the demon god transformation, branding his demon crests into his physique. Saying so, Li Rong waved her hand and dispelled the silent stone barrier. Facing this violent pressure head-on, Li Rong and Han Fei both couldn't help trying to resist. However, even though this pressure was tyrannical, it would no longer be able to restrain the ancient demon clan's power unless Yang Kai once again displayed his demon crests. In other words, no matter what, he had the means to restrain the ancient demon clan. Perceiving that the barrier had disappeared, Yang Kai turned his head and looked towards the distance, seeing Li Rong and Han Fei. Grinning towards her, his figure flickered and in the blink of an eye appeared in front of them. "How do you feel?" Li Rong suppressed the discomfort in her heart and asked softly. "Very good, but I still can't control myself." Yang Kai nodded lightly, his demon crests faintly appearing on his exposed skin. "Being able to achieve this much in such a short time is already very good. You'll slowly become accustomed to it in the future." Li Rong smiled lightly. "Hold out your hand." Yang Kai frowned, and although he didn't know what she was going to do, he still stretched out his hand towards her. Li Rong's reflexes were quick, her jade white hand swiping across Yang Kai's palm, leaving behind a long gash. Blood gushed out. Because he didn't notice any malicious intent from her, Yang Kai didn't try to dodge and instead just stared at her suspiciously. "Take a closer look at your blood, isn't it a little different from before?" Hearing this, Yang Kai lowered his head to take a look and was immediately startled. He found that there was a faint golden glow in his blood, similar to the demon eye of Annihilation's pupil. However, this golden glow was very subtle, and if one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it at all. However, this golden glow contained a great deal of power. "Demon god golden blood." Han Fei's eyes lit up as she exclaimed. It's demon god golden blood." Li Rong nodded. This is the most obvious sign of someone who has cultivated the demon god transformation to the second stage. According to the ancient records, only the great demon god can possess such golden blood. It is the noblest of all bloodlines. Saying so, Li Rong also stretched out her hand and drew a line across her palm. Yang Kai stared closely and found that there was also a faint golden glow in her blood. This golden glow wasn't as brilliant as his own, but it was obviously more intense. "This is proof that my ancient demon clan possesses the demon god's bloodline," Li Rong said proudly. Yang Kai's expression became strange. "You mean to say that I'm also a member of your ancient demon clan?" "You could say that, although you were born human, because of the great demon god, your bloodline has changed." "Then am I a human or a demon in the future?" "That depends on what you think. In fact, whether you're a human or a demon isn't important." Li Rong smiled lightly. "However, as you cultivate, your demon god golden blood will become more and more abundant. When your blood becomes completely golden, that means you have thoroughly comprehended the second stage of the demon god transformation. When you reach the third stage, even your bones will become golden." Yang Kai frowned but didn't answer. Because of the unyielding golden skeleton, his bones were now golden. "Good, you've been cultivating for so long, you should relax for a while. Maintaining the demon god transformation for so long is too much of a burden on your body. You need to relax while cultivating," Li Rong said earnestly, her face filled with concern. Yang Kai nodded gently. He was also feeling a little tired. His body had never felt so sore before, so after dispelling the demon god transformation, he suddenly felt much more relaxed. "Commander Han Fei has something good to give you," Li Rong said with a smile. "What is it?" Yang Kai looked at Han Fei curiously. Han Fei stepped forward and handed over the jade box in her hand. "Take a look for yourself. Perhaps it will be of help to you, or perhaps you won't be able to obtain it. Don't hold too much hope." Her words were so ambiguous that Yang Kai suddenly became curious. Taking the jade box and opening it, his eyes lit up. Inside the jade box was a pair of palm-sized wings. These wings were transparent and it was impossible to tell what material they were made of, nor did they appear to be an artifact. However, from time to time, a dazzling light would flash across these wings. Yang Kai could feel the power of wind and thunder radiating from them. Chapter 666. Holding the jade box, Yang Kai couldn't help showing a look of pleasant surprise as he hurriedly asked, "What is this?" "The wind and thunder wings." Han Fei replied faintly, "It's a kind of exotic treasure. No one knows exactly what it was made of, but over the years, Li Rong and I have tried to refine it many times but have never succeeded. I saw that you also have a pair of wings that contain heavenly Tao principles, so I wanted you to give it a try." Yang Kai looked at her, a slightly hesitant expression appearing on his face. He wanted to refuse, but at that moment, an unusual numbness appeared on his back shoulder blade, as if something was trying to break free and rush out of his body. Yang Kai's expression changed slightly. In a situation where he couldn't control them, the yang inflammation wings actually wanted to unfurl on their own accord. Somehow, the yang inflammation wings and the wind and thunder wings seemed to have a subtle connection. Yang Kai couldn't help gripping the jade box tightly as he stretched out his finger and tapped the wind and thunder wings. The beautiful wind and thunder wings suddenly turned into a stream of light and flew into Yang Kai's body. At the same time, Yang Kai's expression changed as he felt an unbearable pain spread from his back shoulder blade, as if his whole body was about to be torn apart. His face instantly turned white as large beads of sweat appeared on his forehead and his body began to tremble. Li Rong and Han Fei just stood by and watched, not intending to lend a helping hand, but their two pairs of beautiful eyes were filled with worry and expectation as they stared towards Yang Kai. After a long time, Yang Kai slowly stood up straight and took a deep breath, the pain still spreading from his back shoulder blade, but it wasn't as unbearable as before. Seeing this scene, Li Rong couldn't help patting his back and chuckling, "It seems that you and these wind and thunder wings really have some kind of fate. I haven't refined them yet." Yang Kai frowned. He could clearly feel that there were two extremely tyrannical energies hidden in his shoulder blades, constantly destroying his body. From time to time, they would erupt with the power of wind and thunder, causing him great pain. However, his perseverance and tenacity were incomparable to ordinary people, so he didn't show this pain on his face. "I know." Li Rong smiled lightly, "But Han Fei and I experimented many times before we were barely able to absorb them into our bodies, and without exception, within an hour we were forced to force them out, otherwise, the two of us would have died long ago. I don't know how long you'll be able to hold on, or how long it will accept you and completely refine it." "I'll do my best." Yang Kai's expression. He'd also noticed that refining the wind and thunder wings was like refining a secret treasure, and he had to constantly pour his true qi into it in order to make it submit to him and be used by him. Until they were completely integrated into his body, it was nothing more than a foreign object that had entered his body. Not only could it not be used, but it was also constantly destroying his body, causing great harm to him. "I'll send you back to rest. There are too many things you need to do. Don't worry, take it one step at a time. No one grows all at once," Li Rong softly comforted, stretching out her hand and grabbing Yang Kai's arm before flying back up. Returning to the stone room, Yang Kai didn't care about anything else and quickly walked over to his bed, sat down cross-legged, and closed his eyes to meditate. Inside the octagonal tower, Li Rong and Han Fei both sipped tea silently. After a long time, Li Rong suddenly asked seriously, "Han Fei, what do you think of him?" Han Fei put down the teacup in her hand and nodded. "Aptitude, perseverance, courage, all of it is undeniable, far more outstanding than any of my clan's younger generation. Even when we were his age, we couldn't compare to him. If he doesn't die early, his future will certainly be bright." Li Rong also deeply agreed, tapping her jade hand lightly on the table, a look of loss appearing on her pretty face. "Unfortunately, he was born human. If only the blood of our ancient demon clan flowed through his veins, how wonderful would that be?" Han Fei's expression changed greatly. "Li Rong, you." Li Rong laughed dumbly and shook her head. "What are you thinking?" "I'm not that vicious, I was just lamenting. I'm not the kind of person who goes back on her word." Han Fei's expression relaxed. When she heard Li Rong's words just now, she had thought Li Rong was harboring some kind of devious thoughts. Li Rong suddenly smiled strangely. "Why do you seem to care so much about him?" "He saved me under the volcano. If it weren't for his shelter, I would have died long ago," Han Fei said lightly. Li Rong smiled lightly. "It's not that simple. You even gave him your wind and thunder wings." Saying so, she stared at Han Fei meaningfully. You're thinking too much, he's just a child. Han Fei turned her eyes away. He's not a child. Li Rong shook her head. Good, let's not talk about this, I was just feeling a bit emotional. Even though we expressed our intentions to befriend him, he doesn't seem to have the slightest sense of belonging or dependence to my ancient demon clan. He's simply too self-confident. Naturally, he has the capital to back up his self-confidence. Moreover, he was captured by Coffin Slave Senior and brought here. We haven't done anything to help him, so how could he feel a sense of belonging or dependence? Han Fei said bitterly. Both she and Li Rong understood that the only way out for the ancient demon clan now lay in Yang Kai's hands. But now, Yang Kai didn't have a sense of belonging to this place. If he didn't have a sense of belonging, he wouldn't care about the ancient demon clan and wouldn't be willing to sacrifice himself for it. At the very least, he wouldn't be sincere. If he could leave, Han Fei and Li Rong were almost certain that he would not hesitate to abandon the ancient demon clan and leave this place. Do you want him to feel sentimental attachment to our clan? Han Fei suddenly realized Li Rong's plan. I hope so. Li Rong didn't deny it, rubbing her forehead lightly. Unfortunately, he seems to be a bit stubborn. Didn't the ancient records of our ancestors say that young human men are all lustful? Why doesn't he seem to be like that? I've had Guan accompany him for more than a year now and he's been very well behaved, never showing any disrespect to her. Could it be that Guan isn't to his liking? Han Fei was also puzzled. She had lived her entire life in this mysterious small world, so her understanding of humans was limited to the ancient records of her ancestors. Her ancestors had said that humans were sinister and cunning, greedy for beauty and power. Then what kind of women does he like? There are many young women in my demon god citadel, all of them with different temperaments, but I've never seen him touch any of them. That's true, when he was with me under the volcano, he was also very well behaved. Han Fei nodded thoughtfully. How about you try to test him again? Li Rong looked at Han Fei with a smile. What are you talking about? Han Fei blushed. I'm serious. Li Rong said solemnly, we need to make him feel a little sentimental attachment to our clan, no matter what method we use, as long as we don't hurt him. Han Fei was stunned, staring at Li Rong in a daze, not seeing the slightest trace of a joking expression on her face. I won't go. Han Fei's brow furrowed deeply. Asking her to seduce Yang Kai was a bit too much for her to handle. Li Rong smiled bitterly and no longer tried to force her, only letting out a deep sigh as she felt a headache coming on. Under the current circumstances, she could only come up with such a clumsy method. This method made her feel a sense of shame. If she hadn't been forced to do so, she wouldn't have come up with such a method to trap Yang Kai. A burst of severe pain came from his back, but Yang Kai's expression remained indifferent, seemingly accustomed to this kind of pain, meticulously pouring his yuan qi into the pill furnace in front of him to refine the pill. His demeanor was focused, his movements were skillful, and his skill was superb. After only half a day, a pill had been produced. Feeling the quality of the pill, Yang Kai nodded with satisfaction. A spirit-grade mid-rank pill. Now, without relying on a spirit array, Yang Kai could refine a spirit-grade mid-rank pill with his own skill and methods. If he supplemented this with a spirit array and added some myriad drug liquid to the herbs, it was very likely he would be able to refine a spirit-grade top-rank pill, only one step away from reaching saint grade. Taking out a spirit stone, holding it in his palm, and meditating for a moment to restore himself. After restoring himself to his peak condition, Yang Kai walked out of the stone room and walked over to Li Rong's octagonal building. Going deep into the octagonal building, Yang Kai used his ability to become the demon race and advance to the second stage of the demon god transformation. Several months had passed since Chu Jian's death. During these months, Yang Kai had been living like an ascetic monk, shuttling back and forth between the stone room and the secret room. Half a day was spent refining alchemy while the other half was spent cultivating the demon god transformation. Every day, Yang Kai had plenty of time to spare, not wasting any of it. The wind and thunder wings hidden in his body were constantly being nourished and refined by Yuan Qi, making rapid progress. On top of that, his demon god transformation had also made great progress. The golden light in Yang Kai's blood had become more and more intense, at least a third of his blood having transformed into a golden color. This golden blood now contained a destructive power. After several months of hard work, Yang Kai's strength had now reached the peak immortal ascension boundary. His foundation was more solid than anyone else's, and even though his physical cultivation was at the peak immortal ascension boundary, his comprehension of the martial Tao was not inferior to a Saint Realm master. After all, he had swallowed the souls of many masters who had died and their insights into the heavenly way. Even though his life was extremely fulfilling, Yang Kai always felt like something was missing. What surprised him was that after breaking through to the peak immortal ascension boundary, his cultivation progress had become quite slow as a turtle's crawl. The Transcendent Realm was a huge chasm. In the central capital, the Transcendent Realm was the highest level of cultivation, but because of the constraints of the world principles, very few people could reach this level. Each of the 8 great families only had 3 or 4 Transcendent Realm masters, while first-class forces only had 1 or 2 at most. Most of them only had a single Transcendent Realm master. Even in Tongxian Realm, where world energy was abundant, most cultivators were stuck at the peak immortal ascension boundary, unable to break through to the Transcendent Realm. But overall, there were still many Transcendent Realm masters here. Yang Kai had seen several dozen transcendents along the way and even more saints. Today, Yang Kai was stuck at the door of the Transcendent Realm, unable to explore the mysteries behind it. Chapter 667. Inside the octagonal tower's underground chamber, Yang Kai maintained his demon god transformation as he sensed the power and movement of his demon crests. In the distance, the 3 great commanders of the ancient demon clan were all paying attention to his movements, each of them nodding from time to time with a look of approval on their faces. These days, Yang Kai's growth had been observed by all 3 of them, giving them a sense of relief that this demon god's successor was no ordinary person. The only thing that gave Li Rong a headache was that until now, she had yet to come up with an effective and feasible method to make Yang Kai feel a sense of belonging to the ancient demon clan. Hong. With a loud bang, with Yang Kai as the center, a violent force suddenly erupted. The expressions of the 3 great commanders, who were watching from the sidelines, changed greatly and they quickly took action, sending out a mysterious energy barrier that surrounded the secret room. The violent energy raged inside the barrier and Yang Kai wore a difficult expression as he tried to control the rampaging power in his body, only gradually stabilizing it after a while. Li Rong and the others all glanced at each other, a trace of worry appearing on their faces as they quickly flew over and landed beside Yang Kai, asking softly, "What's wrong?" Yang Kai's brow furrowed deeply for a moment before he shook his head and said, "I'm fine, just a bit impetuous." Impetuous? Li Rong was surprised. She hadn't expected that someone as calm and steady as Yang Kai would actually show such an impetuous side. "It's nothing serious, I'll go back first. Today's cultivation will end here," Yang Kai said before turning around and leaving. Looking at his disappearing back, the 3 great commanders were speechless for a while. He's not the kind of person who should grow up in a greenhouse, Hua most suddenly sighed deeply. "I'm afraid this place also gives him a sense of restraint." Han Fei nodded lightly. Han Fei gently nodded. Although after Chu Jian's death, the 3 great commanders had no intention of restricting Yang Kai's freedom and had even arranged everything for him, in this mysterious small world, it was inevitable that he would feel like he was being imprisoned. The ancient demon clan had grown up here, so even if their clansmen longed to see the outside world, they would not reject this place. However, he was different. He was suddenly captured from a vast world and brought to this place. It was inevitable that he would not be able to adapt. The 3 great commanders were not fools. Naturally, they could tell what Yang Kai was worried about. "It seems that we won't be able to keep him for long." Li Rong smiled bitterly. "I'll go talk to him." Han Fei suddenly grit her teeth and said, "All right. Let's see if there are other reasons. If we can help, tell him not to be polite." Li Rong urged. Han Fei gently nodded. Inside the stone room, Yang Kai held the herbs in his hand, unable to concentrate for a long time. He also had no interest in alchemy. A delicate fragrance suddenly lingered at the tip of Yang Kai's nose, causing him to look up and see Han Fei standing in front of him in her usual cold outfit. Do you have any troubles you want to talk to me about? Han Fei asked softly. Worries? Yang Kai was stunned. He smiled and said, What worries do I have? Then what are you worried about? I can't say. Yang Kai slowly shook his head, apparently unwilling to open up. You don't want to talk about it? Han Fei stared at him intently. Yang Kai's expression suddenly became playful. What's wrong? Great Commander Han Fei is now responsible for enlightening others. If you really want to enlighten me, Li Rong is more suitable. Why can't I do it? Han Fei suddenly became unhappy. You yourself have an unapproachable appearance. How can you make others open their hearts to you? Yang Kai was overjoyed. Han Fei curled her lips disdainfully. That's a different matter. It's normal for young people to have troubles. No matter what, I've lived many years longer than you, so my life experience is much richer than yours. I've also been around your age. If you're willing, you can speak with me. There's nothing I can't help you with. The matters between men and women, do you even understand them? Yang Kai asked jokingly. Han Fei suddenly choked on her words, her tender body trembling slightly. She had never fallen in love with a man in her life, so naturally she didn't know what it felt like to be a woman. If Yang Kai was really worried about this, she was completely helpless. Do you really want to leave this small sealed world so badly? Han Fei suddenly asked coldly. When did I say that? Kai Yang was baffled by her words. Isn't that so? The reason you're so impetuous is because this world is restricting you. A little, Yang Kai admitted frankly. This place makes me feel uncomfortable. Even if we treat you so sincerely, it's not your fault. I just have some things I need to do. I need to find a few people. Yang Kai shook his head, not understanding what she was so angry about. I know. Han Fei took a deep breath, her full breasts rising and falling dramatically. But you don't have to worry, we won't be able to keep you here for long. After a while you'll be able to leave this place. What do you mean? Yang Kai asked happily. Han Fei stared at him coldly. Coffin Slave Senior sent you here because you have a conflagrated knowledge. See. We need you to refine that saint-grade pill. However, your alchemy speed is too fast, so the herbs stored in this small sealed world are almost all used up. Without these herbs, you can't continue to perform alchemy. If you want to improve your alchemy skills, you can only go outside and find your own way. Hearing this, Yang Kai's eyes gradually lit up. The shackles that had been binding him seemed to shatter, giving him an illusion of freedom. Happy now? Han Fei looked at him contemptuously. Li Rong, me, and Hua Mo didn't want to restrict you. If you said you wanted to leave, we would have immediately sent you away. It was you who doubted us, not daring to make such a request. Yang Kai couldn't help feeling a little embarrassed. He really did have such concerns. The ancient demon clan had placed all their hopes on him, so he didn't dare to make a request to leave. Even if they were very respectful to him and obeyed his every word, Yang Kai didn't know if they would become hostile if he made such a request. But unexpectedly, Han Fei had seen through his thoughts and suspicions with a single glance. I just want to tell you that no matter what you think, no matter what you do, since you are the successor chosen by Great Demon God, my ancient demon clan will abide by our ancestors' teachings and forever serve you, obey your orders. If you don't have this awareness, I'm afraid my clan will be buried at your hand. Han Fei coldly spat out these words before turning around and leaving. Yang Kai scratched his head, feeling somewhat uncomfortable for a while. Recalling the attitude of Li Rong and the others towards him after Chu Jian's death, Yang Kai suddenly felt a little apologetic. They truly treated him with sincerity, but he had always maintained a distance from them. After an unknown amount of time, the air in front of him distorted and the three great commanders of the ancient demon clan appeared. Yang Kai looked up and found that the three of them seemed to have discussed something, all of them wearing firm expressions on their faces. Li Rong first smiled apologetically to Yang Kai and said, Han Fei's words just now were a bit too extreme, but she was also thinking about her clansmen. I hope you can understand. Han Fei appeared from behind her, a look of embarrassment on her face as she stammered, my apologies. I should be the one apologizing, Yang Kai said indifferently. I thought too much and failed to live up to your sincerity. We were also thinking about our clansmen. It can be considered a selfish thought. Li Rong smiled bitterly. but from now on, we will consider things from your perspective. Ian, do you really want to leave here? As soon as this statement came out, the three great commanders all stared at Yang Kai with burning eyes. Yang Kai nodded. Han Fei couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed, while Hua Mo's expression also became somewhat gloomy. Li Rong's expression remained unchanged as she smiled lightly. It's reasonable for you to want to leave. Good, we'll send you away. You are not one of my clansmen, so you are not restricted by this mysterious small world and can freely enter and leave. I didn't say I wanted to leave now. Yang Kai shook his head. The three great commanders couldn't help but light up as they waited for him to continue. Han Fei said that you don't have many herbs left, right? En. Li Rong nodded. Originally, we should have run out long ago, but we managed to collect a lot from Chu Jian, allowing us to last until now. However, with your alchemy speed, I'm afraid you'll run out in less than a month. Then I'll use up all your herbs. The pills I refine will also be useful to you. When I run out of herbs, I'll leave. Very well. Li Rong smiled lightly. Thanks to your efforts this past year and a half, my clansmen have obtained a lot of good pills and their strength has improved greatly. Allow me to thank you on their behalf. No need to be so polite. In any case, you think you're an outsider, Han Fei said angrily. Although she had just apologized, when she heard that Yang Kai insisted on leaving, she still felt a little angry. If I run out of herbs, it's useless for me to stay. I can't wait a few dozen years or even 100 years for your herbs to be produced before continuing with my alchemy, right? Yang Kai looked at her with a smile. That's too much of a waste of time. Once I leave, I can search for herbs on my own and improve my alchemy skills. I should soon be able to refine saint-grade pills. His expression suddenly becoming serious, Yang Kai quickly declared, I promise, when my alchemy skills meet your requirements, I will definitely come back and take you away from here. The three great commanders couldn't help feeling shocked as they stared at Yang Kai in amazement, joy and excitement filling their faces. Are you serious? Li Rong asked anxiously. I'm serious. Yang Kai's expression became serious. I've never promised anyone anything. This is the first time. Li Rong stared at him blankly, realizing his sincerity. Her pair of beautiful eyes couldn't help shedding some tears as she softly said, Thank you. Han Fei and Hua Mo also quickly thanked him, unable to suppress the relief in their hearts. You can rest assured, my clan is also a clan that values promises and the teachings of our ancestors. Even if we regain our freedom, we will still follow you. Li Rong quickly added, her expression firm. We'll talk about that later, Yang Kai chuckled. For now, bring me all the remaining herbs you have. I've brought them all. Li Rong said, reaching out and touching her void ring. A mountain of herbs appeared before Yang Kai's eyes. These are all the remaining herbs. I'll finish as soon as possible. Yang Kai nodded gently, relaxing both physically and mentally. Chapter 668. Beneath the towering snow mountain range was a thick layer of ice that had not melted since ancient times. Snow fluttered in the wind, making it impossible to see anything within 100 meters of the mountain range. The temperature here was extremely low. Even cultivators would not be willing to set foot here unless they had some special reason to do so. Looking down from above, one would see a vast expanse of white snow. Halfway up one of the snow mountain ranges, there was an extremely well-hidden cave that led directly to the heart of the mountain. The interior was covered in crystal-clear ice that gave off a frigid aura. A strange force suddenly filled the cave and immediately after, a red light burst forth, illuminating the entire cave, making everything inside appear extremely gloomy and strange. A figure emerged from the void and, seemingly not having figured out where he was, fell onto the ice with a bang. After standing firm, this figure immediately spread out his powerful divine sense and after a moment, his expression relaxed and he gradually withdrew his divine sense. Sure enough, it's inside the snow mountain range. Yang Kai used his divine sense to investigate the surrounding terrain and muttered to himself. Before leaving the mysterious small world, Li Rong had told him that Coffin Slave Sr. was most likely hiding in an extremely cold place 10,000 kilometers away. Now it seemed that what she said was true. Because Coffin Slave had been dead for countless years, Even if he was a Saint Realm master and a member of the ancient demon clan with a powerful physique, after so many years, his body would have decayed and deteriorated. The only way to preserve his body was to find a remote and desolate place to hide. Inside the Snow Mountain Range, there was no doubt that this condition was met. Li Rong had said that Coffin Slave Sr. would go out every 10 years to find a cultivator with a conflagrated knowledge sea, or when his body could no longer bear the strain, he would return to his hiding place to cultivate. After another 10 years, he would set out again. Coffin Slave Sr. had been doing this for countless years and had brought back more than a dozen conflagrated knowledge sea cultivators for Li Rong. Turning his head to the side, Yang Kai immediately saw Coffin Slave Ju sitting cross-legged in place. Coffin Slave Ju's body exuded an unbearable putrid stench, and his exposed skin was covered in pustules and warts. Coffin Slave Sr.'s body would not last for many years. Yang Kai understood in his heart. Although he didn't know what kind of obsession it was that made such a master so loyal to him even after death, such a person was worthy of respect. Coffin Slave Sr. was still carrying the blood-red coffin on his back. No one knew what was hidden inside this coffin or what mysteries it held, but Yang Kai knew that inside Coffin Slave Sr. was the mysterious small world he had been teleported from. Since reaching an agreement with Li Rong and the others, it only took Yang Kai half a month to refine all the remaining herbs into pills. After some rest, the three great commanders worked together to break through the void of the small sealed world and send Yang Kai out. I wonder if they've discovered the gift I left for them, Yang Kai thought to himself, a slight smile appearing on his face as he slowly retreated and stared at Coffin Slave Sr. vigilantly. Yang Kai didn't want to wake this Saint Realm undead from his meditation. Although using the demon god transformation could eliminate this person's hostility, if there was a nearby master who detected his aura, it would only expose this place. Fortunately, Coffin Slave Sr. was still in a deep sleep and showed no signs of waking up. After a long time, Yang Kai withdrew from the cave. A biting cold wind blew across his face and Yang Kai noticed this unusual cold, causing goosebumps to appear all over his body. Circulating his true Yang secret art involuntarily, Yang Kai dispelled the chill around him. After observing the snow for a while, Yang Kai gave up trying to find his bearings. Although it had been a year and a half since he arrived on Tongxian Realm, he had spent most of his time in the mysterious small world, so it could be said that he was still unfamiliar with this world. Even if he could find his bearings, he still wouldn't know where to go. Leaping out like a bolt of lightning, Yang Kai quickly disappeared into the snowstorm. Inside Demon God Citadel, the three great commanders stared blankly at the slowly closing crack in the sky, speechless for a long time. "He's gone," Han Fei muttered. Li Rong nodded, "but he'll come back." Hua Mo hesitated for a moment before asking, "It's not that I'm a petty person, but Master Li, why are you so sure he will fulfill his promise?" "It's just a feeling." Li Rong smiled lightly. "His promise that day was very sincere, so I choose to believe him. Just watch, he will definitely come back, and as he promised, he will lead us out of this world." Hua Mo frowned but didn't say anything more. Although he also wanted to believe Yang Kai's promise, humans were notorious for their insidiousness and deceit. Who knew if he was just deceiving them? "Master, Master." At that moment, Guana suddenly ran over. "What's wrong?" Li Rong turned her head and brushed her hair behind her ear, asking softly. "Take a look at this," Guana said, stretching out her hand and showing the three great commanders what she was holding. "Crystal stones?" Li Rong was surprised. "Where did you get these?" Although Han Fei had brought back a lot of crystal stones last time, for the needs of the entire clan, it was still a bit lacking. These crystal stones were now under the control of the three great commanders in batches. Only at certain times would some be distributed. Guana had also been given a few pieces last time, but she had quickly used them all up, so she shouldn't have any extra crystal stones on hand. "I found them in the stone room Yang Kai used to perform alchemy. You should go and take a look, there's a lot more." Guana's face filled with excitement as she gestured. Li Rong and Han Fei glanced at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes before quickly flying off. Soon, the three great commanders arrived at the stone room Yang Kai had been using for alchemy, and after seeing the situation inside, they were stunned. In a corner of the stone room, there was a mountain of crystals. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count. This is. Li Rong was almost speechless, her tender body trembling as she stared at the pile of crystal stones. These should be the crystal stones he collected under the volcano last time, Han Fei explained. So many. Hua Mo almost bit off his tongue, his old face twitching. When they returned from the volcano last time, Han Fei had also told them about her and Yang Kai's encounter at the foot of the volcano. Everyone knew that Yang Kai had a huge amount of crystal stone resources in his hands, but no one had mentioned it, much less asked him for them. None of them had expected that before he left, he would actually leave behind such a large amount of wealth. These crystal stones were 4 times more than what Han Fei had brought back. Giving us so much, I'm afraid he doesn't have much left. Han Fei's pretty face couldn't help showing a look of gratitude, her eyes suddenly coming to rest on the dozen or so crystal stones in the most conspicuous position. He even left behind some saint crystals. He, recalling the scene where she had fought with Yang Kai for crystal stones under the volcano, even tricking him into taking off his shirt so she could carry more crystal stones, Han Fei suddenly realized how naive she had been. Master Li. Hua Mo took a deep breath and calmed his excitement, quickly saying, "This old man believes now, he will definitely come back." "Yes, he will come back." Li Rong smiled happily, tears of joy appearing at the corners of her eyes, tears of relief and joy. If Yang Kai had no intention of coming back, it would have been impossible for him to leave behind such a huge amount of wealth. But he had left them behind, which meant that he hoped these crystal stones would help the ancient demon clan improve their strength so that when they left here and returned to the outside world, they would have more strength to protect themselves. I can't fail to live up to his expectations, Li Rong thought to herself. Inside Demon God Citadel, if they wanted pills, if they wanted crystal stones, they had crystal stones. Within a few years, there was no need to worry about their development. The next time he returned, the ancient demon clan would give him a big gift. Li Rong took a deep breath and made up her mind. Through the snowy mountain range, Yang Kai shuttled back and forth. The wind and snow were too strong and the chill was too great, making it impossible for him to maintain flight for long periods of time as it consumed too much of his physical strength and spiritual energy. Along the way, he couldn't see anyone at all, not even the slightest trace of a monster beast. In this entire world, it was as if he was the only one exuding vitality. The world energy aura here was quite extraordinary, but no one cultivated here. Even a cultivator proficient in ice attribute secret arts and martial skills would find it extremely difficult to endure such a harsh environment. Yang Kai didn't feel any sadness or joy as he continued forward through the snowy mountain range. Occasionally, a burst of unbearable pain would come from his shoulder blade, a sign of the wind and thunder wings' destructive power. It had been some time since he had absorbed the wind and thunder wings into his body, so his progress in refining them was quite sloppy. However, Yang Kai had a feeling that the wind and thunder wings wouldn't be so easily refined and would require some special methods. After shuttling through the snowy mountain range for more than 10 days, the wind and snow gradually weakened. Atop a tall mountain, Yang Kai stood at the top of a mountain and looked down, the long-awaited sunlight shining down on his body, making him feel comfortable both physically and mentally. Chem. He suddenly noticed that a few dozen kilometers away, there were several life auras that weren't weak. Yang Kai couldn't help smiling happily. Now that he didn't know where he was, he naturally wanted to find someone to inquire about his whereabouts, but after walking for so many days, he hadn't been able to find anyone, so now he finally saw them. Inferring from the strength of these life auras, there shouldn't be any transcendent realm masters here, allowing Yang Kai to relax a bit. Smiling lightly, Yang Kai flew down the mountain range and approached the source of these life auras. A few dozen kilometers away, in the white snow, a group of 3 people was walking forward, 1 man and 2 women, all of them immortal ascension boundary 7th or 8th stage cultivators. The man was handsome while the woman was beautiful. All 3 of them wore golden robes, the dazzling golden light particularly conspicuous in the white snow. They should be from the same sect or family. At this moment, the 2 women were walking in front, their arms wrapped around each other's. Even in such a cold environment, one of the women was still wearing very thin clothes, showing off her impressive figure. She was tall and slender, with ample breasts and perky buttocks, causing the man behind her to constantly stare at her graceful waist and swaying hips. The other woman was slightly shorter, her pretty face showing a bit of ignorance, from time to time stretching out her hands and exhaling hot air from her mouth, giving her a lovely appearance. Chapter 669. The three of them continued forward while releasing their divine senses to investigate their surroundings. After a while, the woman wearing thin clothes suddenly smiled happily and pointed in a certain direction. There should be spirit medicines over there. Saying so, she hurriedly led the other two over. Dozens of jong away, the three of them worked hard to push aside a few feet of deep snow. Under the snow, there was a crystal-clear plant growing. Under the sunlight, the stem and leaves reflected a blurry halo, like a crystal. It was quite beautiful. At the top of this plant, there were a few fingernail-sized snow-white fruits that emitted a faint fragrance. Elder Sister G is amazing. The white jade fruit was hidden so deeply yet you were able to find it. The younger woman looked excited and clapped her hands. Ji Meng chuckled and glanced over at Zhu Yingyu affectionately, comforting her. Pay more attention, you'll also find it. Zhu Yingyu pouted, I've tried my best, but every time I can't compare to you, even big brother Qi can't compare. Hearing this, Qi Chao was a little unhappy. Am I weak? Zhu Yingyu snorted, you're much worse than elder sister Ji. Ji Meng patted her head, when we go back, I'll share some with you, don't be discouraged. The latter nodded innocently. Qi Chao stepped forward and said, let's pick them first, be careful not to damage the roots. After a dozen years or so, they'll bear more white jade fruits. Ji Meng nodded, stretched out her jade white hands, and carefully picked up the few fruits, placing them into her universe bag. 4 spirit grasses and spirit medicines that could regenerate. A cultivator generally wouldn't damage their roots when harvesting them. Draining the pond to catch all the fish wasn't a good thing and would also reduce the production of spirit grasses and spirit medicines. With such a harvest, the three of them were very happy. Suddenly, Qi Chao and Ji Meng frowned and turned to look in a certain direction, their faces filled with vigilance. They felt that someone was quickly approaching from that direction. A moment later, a vague figure appeared in the snow and soon arrived a few dozen meters in front of the three of them. Yang Kai saw the expressions of the three of them but didn't pay them any mind. Suddenly encountering a stranger in the wilderness, no matter who it was, they would be vigilant. Before he came here, he had confirmed that their cultivation bases were not enough to threaten him. That was why he had shown himself so generously. If the other party had a second-order transcendent or above master, Yang Kai would have avoided them. The three of them weren't that old, so it shouldn't be hard to talk to them. Yang Kai nodded slightly, revealing a friendly smile. Who are you? Qi Chao took a step forward and stood in front of Ji Meng and Zhu Yingyu, coldly asking, how did you appear in this snow mountain range? Just a traveler who accidentally lost his way. Yang Kai's expression was kind. A passerby? Qi Chao frowned and looked at Yang Kai from head to toe. His face was full of suspicion. It's not as simple as just passing by. Do you have some other purpose for entering this snowy mountain? The other party's expression was somewhat unfriendly, causing Yang Kai to scratch his head in confusion. Wondering where he had offended this man, he could only explain, I was really just passing by and noticed your aura, so I came to take a look. I don't have any other intentions, I just wanted to ask how to get out of here. I've been wandering around this snowy mountain range for many days now. As he spoke, Yang Kai suddenly noticed the white jade fruit tree behind them, its crystal-clear appearance causing Yang Kai to take a second look. Qi Chao carefully observed Yang Kai's expression and became vigilant, staring deeply at Yang Kai. However, Yang Kai's expression remained calm, not showing the slightest discomfort. Yang Kai wasn't lying. Although he had been sent out from the mysterious small world, his current purpose was to find a clear direction and leave this boundless snow mountain range first. After a while, Qi Chao restrained his hostility and slowly nodded, I'll believe you for the time being, but this snow mountain range is not a place for outsiders to enter. If you want to leave, just go in that direction. Saying so, he stretched out his hand and pointed in a certain direction. Yang Kai turned his head and glanced over before cupping his fists. Many thanks, We'll meet again. As soon as his voice fell, he activated his movement skill and flew off in that direction. Wait! Chi Chao shouted coldly. What's wrong? Yang Kai stopped and frowned. You haven't collected any spirit grasses or spirit medicines in this snow mountain range, right? If you have, please hand them over. This is my spirit religion's territory, everything here belongs to my spirit religion, outsiders cannot take away even a blade of grass or a tree. Yang Kai couldn't help showing a look of ridicule on his face as he became a little impatient. Not to mention that he hadn't collected anything, even if he had, with the other party using such a commanding tone, there was no way he would hand it over. This snow mountain range was so large that it was impossible for a single great force to occupy it all. Glancing at the two women behind him, Yang Kai was too lazy to make a fuss and simply said, I don't have any. The next moment, Yang Kai felt a divine sense sweep across his body unscrupulously. This person's courage is so big. Yang Kai couldn't help laughing. Wasn't this person afraid he would counterattack and instantly injure him? Thinking about it for a moment, Yang Kai didn't make any unnecessary movements and simply let this person investigate him. After a while, Chi Chao nodded with satisfaction. You can go. Yang Kai didn't say a word, turned around, and flew off into the snow. After he left, Zhu Yingyu whispered, Brother Chi, that way, Chi Chao raised a finger and slowly shook his head, glancing around before leading the two women in a different direction. Zhu Yingyu followed behind them with a suspicious look on her face, from time to time glancing back in the direction Yang Kai disappeared, a worried look flashing across her eyes. After walking for a full hour, Zhu Yingyu finally couldn't help asking again, Brother Chi, why did you point him in the wrong direction? Ji Meng smiled and said, I also want to know, Chi Chao, what are you doing? That person is very suspicious, haven't you noticed? Chi Chao glanced at them and said firmly, his words can't be trusted. Ji Meng was speechless and slowly shook her head, even if he's a bit suspicious, this isn't the way to harm others. You're trying to kill him. That's the monster beast's range of activity. If he went in alone, how could he possibly survive? His life or death has nothing to do with us, Chi Chao coldly snorted. When going out, one must always be on guard. His strength seems to be higher than ours, I'm just making plans for our safety. How do you know? I didn't even notice it, Zhu Yingyu asked innocently. Because he discovered us first, Chi Chao explained. He's not a disciple of the spirit religion, so he came to this snow mountain range either to collect herbs or for some other purpose. Didn't you notice that when he saw the white jade fruit tree, he showed an expression of interest? If I hadn't dragged him away, he might have killed me to steal the treasure. It doesn't matter if I die, but if you too fall into the hands of such a person, Zhu Yingyu's pretty face paled as her tender body trembled slightly. Recalling Yang Kai's appearance, she faintly felt that this person really was a beast with a human face. Ji Meng's brow furrowed as she curled her lips. How can you think so badly of people? What if it's really as he said and he's just a traveler who lost his way? It's normal to get lost in this snow mountain range. Then you might as well go back and find him now and tell him that this is a dead end, Chi Chao snorted. Ji Meng angrily asked, where am I supposed to find him now? When I lied to him just now, didn't you not say anything? Now you're entangled with me, it's just an outsider, Chi Chao also said angrily. I'm just worried that you're from the same sect, I don't want you to lose face in front of outsiders. Don't argue, Zhu Yingyu saw the two of them arguing more and more fiercely and quickly tried to dissuade them. Fine, just this once, there won't be a next time. Really, good people don't have good karma, Chi Chao said disheartenedly as he strode forward. Ji Meng sighed helplessly and glanced back, hesitating for a moment before shaking her head and keeping up with Chi Chao's pace. Elder sister Ji, will he die? Zhu Yingyu asked softly. Maybe. Did brother Chi make a mistake? No, he has his own reasons, Ji Meng smiled lightly. However, that person had released his divine sense before he appeared and deliberately notified the three of them, so obviously he didn't have any malicious intentions. If he really did have malicious intentions, he could have concealed himself and launched a sneak attack. Ji Meng couldn't understand why Chi Chao had pointed him in the wrong direction, making her feel very guilty towards this stranger. Yang Kai's face was gloomy as he stared down at the seventh-order monster beast's corpse at his feet, breathing heavily. His body was covered in blood, so the battle just now had not been easy. A seventh-order monster beast was equivalent to a human transcendent realm cultivator. Fortunately, this seventh-order monster beast wasn't too difficult to deal with. Following the guidance of the yellow-robed man, Yang Kai had encountered 7 or 8 monster beast attacks in just 3 or 5 days. These monster beasts, without exception, had all been killed by him. If it had been any other peak immortal ascension boundary cultivator, fighting a native ice attribute monster beast in such a harsh environment, they would have died countless times already. Moreover, as time passed, Yang Kai found that the nearby snowstorm was getting heavier and heavier. It seemed that he had returned to the same place. This discovery caused his expression to turn ugly. By now, he also realized that he had been deceived by the yellow-robed man. They had met by chance, and he had only asked for directions, showing that he had no malicious intentions. After getting the answer, Yang Kai naturally didn't have any suspicions. Who knew that the yellow-robed man would be so hateful? Taking out the monster beast's monster core and breaking off its 2 horns, Yang Kai turned around and returned to the original path with a cold expression. Climbing the towering snow-capped mountains along the way, walking in the white and boundless world, Yang Kai's mood was very bad. 3 days later, Yang Kai suddenly stopped. After listening for a while, he released his divine sense to investigate, and his expression suddenly became strange. More than 10 miles ahead, there were 2 familiar life auras. They were 2 of the 3 people he had met before, but at this moment, their mental state was somewhat unstable, as if they were being chased by something. They were panicking and fleeing in his direction. Following closely behind them, Yang Kai also noticed a strong life aura, which belonged to a 7th-order monster beast. What a small world! Yang Kai showed a strange smile, stopped in place, and waited quietly. Chapter 670. A series of beast roars rang out, shaking the earth and sending snow into the air. Ji Meng and Zhu Yingyu desperately fled, no longer as calm and collected as when Yang Kai first saw them. Both of their clothes were tattered and bloodstained, revealing large patches of their snow-white skin as they fled. The cold wind blew, causing Zhu Yingyu to shiver. "Hurry!" Ji Meng shouted as she fled. "Brother Qi, he..." Zhu Yingyu said as she looked back, but after seeing the fierce monster beast, her beautiful face couldn't help paling, fear flashing across her eyes. "He's dead, don't look back." Ji Meng's expression was calm, but her heart was a mess. She had never expected to encounter an ice crystal wolf here. The 7th-order ice crystal wolf's body was harder than steel, so even the power of artifacts and martial skills could only leave some shallow marks on its body. Its speed was extremely fast, and its 4 claws and fangs were incredibly sharp. The 3 of them had been beaten by this ice crystal wolf in the blink of an eye, and Chi Chao's stomach had been torn open by the ice crystal wolf right in front of the 2 women's eyes, dying a miserable death. They had come here many times already, and each time they had been safe, but this time they had encountered an accident. Compared with Ji Meng's calmness, Zhu Yingyu was more flustered. Under the threat of death, she couldn't even display half of her immortal ascension boundary 7th stage cultivation and could only flee for her life. If it weren't for Ji Meng releasing her artifact from time to slow down the ice crystal wolf, Zhu Yingyu would have already been overtaken. "Elder sister Ji," Zhu Yingyu cried out. "If you don't want to die, don't cry," Ji Meng said solemnly. Zhu Yingyu nodded quickly. Amidst the snowstorm ahead, a figure stood tall. Ji Meng's beautiful eyes lit up and she quickly called out, "Who is this friend in front of us? Can you help us?" At this moment, she seemed to see hope. The other party was simply waiting here without fear. Obviously, they weren't afraid of the ice crystal wolf. Perhaps this person was a senior or fellow disciple of the spirit religion. If that was the case, she and Zhu Yingyu could be saved. As soon as her words fell, a burst of energy shot out from the front. It accurately struck her feet. Perceiving the other party's hostility, Ji Meng quickly pulled Zhu Yingyu to stop. "What a coincidence." A slightly mocking voice came from the front. That person was slowly approaching. Ji Meng's brow furrowed. She stared forward. A moment later, Jimeng was, of course, Yang Yang. Zhu Ying Yu couldn't help covering her mouth and exclaiming, "You're fine." Of Meng of course of no, we didn't think so. Zhu Ying Yu quickly waved her hand, her face filled with anxiety. Where is that man? Kai Yang turned his head and looked around, but didn't find Qi Chao's figure. Dead. Jimeng shielded Zhu Ying Yu. Meng of Qi Ying, of Meng of course of Meng, I of. I admit, we were wrong before. Qi Chao shouldn't have pointed you in the wrong direction, and I shouldn't have not reminded you, but can we talk about this later? Jimeng hurriedly said, if we don't leave now, it'll be too late. The ice crystal wolf chasing us is a 7th-order monster beast, none of us can resist it. Yang Kai frowned and shook his head, it's already too late. As he spoke, suddenly, a burst of whistling sounds rang out. A cold murderous intent lingered in the air, causing Jimeng's complexion to change greatly. Quickly turning around, she waved her 10 fingers and sent out a burst of ice. She faced the icicles coming from behind her. Hong hong hong, countless icicles shattered, filling the air with white mist. Jimeng let out a grunt as her tender shoulder was grazed by an icicle, causing blood to gush out. A huge figure suddenly landed in front of the trio, a ferocious-looking ice crystal wolf bearing its fangs and spitting out a putrid breath. Its pair of copper bell-sized eyes stared towards Jimeng and Zhu Ying Yu as a string of saliva flowed out from the corners of its mouth. The moment the ice crystal wolf pounced, Yang Kai leapt up into the air and looked down, quickly discovering that this monster beast's body was also crystal clear, as if it was carved from jade. It was quite handsome and its fur was quite soft, and it exuded a violent aura that soared to the heavens. Jimeng and Zhu Ying Yu both paled. They knew that after being delayed by Yang Kai, they would no longer be able to escape the ice crystal wolf's attack range. Unwilling to sit still and wait for death, Jimeng quickly took out an artifact covered in arcs of lightning, poured her yuan qi into it, and fiercely attacked the ice crystal wolf. At the same time, Zhu Ying Yu also summoned her own artifact and waved her fan, sending out a wave of wind blades visible to the naked eye towards the ice crystal wolf. When the two of them joined forces, the power behind their attacks was quite good. However, for the ice crystal wolf, these attacks were tantamount to scratching an itch. A series of sparks burst out from its sturdy body, but the ice crystal wolf remained unscathed. Opening its mouth, it roared and sent out a barrage of icicles towards Jimeng and Zhu Ying Yu. The two women tumbled about awkwardly but were still inevitably injured, causing blood to gush out from their wounds, further stimulating the ice crystal wolf's ferocity. Before they could even stand up, the countless icicles once again intertwined, weaving into an airtight net of attacks, forcing the two women to not even raise their heads. Snow fluttered in the air as the scene became chaotic. Jimeng suddenly looked up, her face filled with anxiety as she shouted towards Yang Kai, "Can you help us?" Yang Kai slowly shook his head, his expression indifferent. Although Qi Chao, who had deceived him before, had died under the ice crystal wolf's claws, the fact that these two women hadn't warned him at the time made Yang Kai very annoyed. From beginning to end, he had wasted 6 or 7 days of his time. Seeing Yang Kai refuse so decisively, Jimeng immediately knew that he still held a grudge over what had happened before and quickly shouted, "We were wrong before. Qi Chao deceived you, so we are also responsible, but you can't just stand by and watch us die, right? Why should I save you? I almost died myself." Yang Kai's expression was cold as he looked on indifferently. The ice crystal wolf pounced forward and Jimeng quickly dodged, but she was still struck in the abdomen by its claws, tearing off a large part of her clothes, revealing her flat belly and delicate navel. Bright red blood flowed from her abdomen as Jimeng grit her teeth and endured the pain, using all her strength to fight back against the ice crystal wolf. Zhu Ying Yu also hurriedly helped. With the two of them working together, they were unable to resist the ice crystal wolf's attacks, but they soon discovered that this 7th-order monster beast didn't seem to have any intention of immediately taking their lives. Instead, it was holding the mentality of a cat toying with a mouse, conserving its strength to attack, its eyes even revealing a playful look. A 7th-order monster beast already possessed a high level of intelligence. If there were enough resources and conditions, it could even transform into a human form and become a member of the monster race. After realizing this, Ji-Meng once again called out to Yang Kai for help. "We are disciples of Bright Thunder Spirit religion. If you can save us, after we return, we will definitely compensate you for your losses. Chi Chao is also dead, shouldn't your anger have subsided?" Bright Thunder Spirit religion? Yang Kai's expression changed, feeling like he had heard of this sect somewhere before, but after thinking about it carefully, he couldn't remember where. However, when Ji-Meng saw his thoughtful expression, she thought he had some kind of relationship with her sect and asked expectantly, "Do you know someone from my spirit religion?" "Sorry, I don't." Yang Kai shook his head. "You bastard." Ji-Meng was furious, her heart filled with anxiety as she clenched her teeth and cursed, wishing she could rush up and kill Yang Kai. Originally, she had sympathized with this man who had been deceived, but now it seemed that this person was simply too hateful. He really should have died in this snow mountain range, out of sight, out of mind. "You're just watching us die. Are you even a man?" Ji-Meng shouted. Yang Kai calmly replied, "Originally, saving you wasn't a big deal, but what happened before made me feel very uncomfortable. If I'm not happy, don't think you'll be happy either. If you can survive, I'll be happy to show you whether I'm a man or not." As he spoke, the two women became more and more exhausted under the Ice Crystal Wolf's attacks. Ji-Meng grit her teeth. "What do you want? Tell me what you want and I'll do it." "I don't want anything." Yang Kai slowly shook his head, putting on an expression of watching a good show. Ji-Meng coughed up blood in anger. Yang Kai's calm demeanor made her understand that this man had the strength to deal with this Ice Crystal Wolf. At the very least, he should have been able to escape from this seventh-order monster beast. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to be so calm. However, he simply stood there and watched the show without making a move, leaving Ji-Meng helpless. "Please, can't you?" Ji-Meng grit her teeth, her heart filled with grievance and hatred, but she had no choice but to suppress it and softly beg. "This brother, I'm also begging you." Zhu Yingyu looked at Yang Kai pitifully, her eyes watery. Although she was terrified, she still persisted. Looking into her beautiful eyes, Yang Kai's expression changed slightly, the coldness on his face gradually converging. He suddenly discovered that this woman's eyes were somewhat similar to Xia Ningchang's. Both of them were innocent and clear, without the slightest impurity. Yang Kai didn't say anything for a long time, nor did he show any intention to help. Ji-Meng thought this man really had a heart of stone and was planning on watching from the sidelines. Feeling a chill in her heart, Ji-Meng smiled bitterly and said, "Yingyu, don't beg him, I'm afraid we're really going to die here. Before we die, remember what he looks like. Even if we become ghosts, we must haunt him for the rest of his life." As she spoke, she shot a cold glare towards Yang Kai. Yang Kai couldn't help laughing. "You woman, you really have a heart as vicious as snakes and scorpions. You're not any better," Ji-Meng retorted. Yang Kai's expression became solemn as he asked, "With the strength you've shown, can you escape?" It wasn't that she was much stronger than the other woman, it was just that she hadn't wavered in the face of danger and had been able to display her full strength. Even if the Ice Crystal Wolf was a seventh-order monster beast, if an immortal Ascension Boundary 8th stage cultivator like her wanted to escape, she could still hold on for some time. The other woman was different. She seemed to have really been frightened, her attacks were chaotic and her technique was clumsy. At a glance, it was obvious she had lived under protection all year round. Such a person's status was definitely not low. "If I run away, what will happen to Yingyu? I'm not as despicable as you." Ji-Meng ground her teeth and shouted. "You're quite righteous." Yang Kai nodded gently, suddenly grinning. "I've changed my mind, I can save you." Chapter 671. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. The man who had deceived him before was already dead, so Yang Kai had no intention of finding trouble with these two women. What's more, Yang Kai also needed someone to inquire about information. Hearing Yang Kai say this, Ji-Meng was overjoyed and exclaimed, "Really?" Yang Kai nodded. "But I have a condition." "What condition?" Ji-Meng asked anxiously. "Right now, The most important thing was to survive. She had already decided that no matter how excessive this man's request was, as long as it didn't hurt Zhu Yingyu, she would agree. Shouldn't you give yourself to me for saving your life? Yang Kai rubbed his chin and asked with an evil grin on his face. Ji Meng's face suddenly became gloomy. Although she had mentally prepared herself, she hadn't expected this man to actually make such a shameless request. Her heart filled with anger, but she didn't dare show it on her face, barely managing to resist the ice crystal wolf's attack as she shouted, "I don't care, but don't even think about touching Yingyu." "Oh." Yang Kai looked at her with some surprise. He had only been joking and didn't really intend to do anything to these two women. From their second conversation, these two women weren't evil people, so it didn't matter if he saved them. "Are you going to attack or not? If you don't, we'll die and you won't get anything." Ji Meng couldn't bear it any longer. While she was speaking, the ice crystal wolf's patience seemed to have been completely exhausted and its attacks became more and more ferocious. With her and Zhu Yingyu's means, it was impossible for them to resist. If Yang Kai continued to watch, they would definitely suffer. "It's coming." Yang Kai shook his head and slowly floated down from the sky. The huge monster beast pounced towards them from a distance, its fangs baring their fangs as a foul stench assaulted their nostrils. Zhu Yingyu screamed in fright, tears streaming down her face. Just as she didn't know what to do, her body suddenly felt light and in the next moment, she found herself being carried on someone's shoulder. The scenery around her quickly receded, causing her to close her eyes in fear. Ji Meng also suffered the same fate. She didn't even have time to react before she was grabbed by Yang Kai. Moving as fast as lightning, the repulsive ice crystal wolf chased after them, gradually increasing the distance between them. Ji Meng glanced over and urged, "Hurry up, it's about to catch up." Yang Kai snorted, "That's easy for you to say. This is already my fastest speed." Ji Meng didn't say anything. Looking at the ice crystal wolf getting further and further away, she couldn't help but sigh in relief. After a short while, the ice crystal wolf finally stopped chasing and stopped on the spot. It howled towards the sky, and its howl was filled with unwillingness and rage. Somewhere in the vast snowy mountains, Yang Kai stood in the same place, looking bored as he watched two women with disheveled clothes busying themselves. They seemed to have a lot of experience living in the snow. They quickly dug a hole in the snow. The inside was spacious, and the outside was sturdy. Not long after, a snow cave was formed. Ji Meng glanced back at Yang Kai vigilantly and weakly said, "We're going to change our clothes and apply some healing medicine. You stand here and don't come in. You're also not allowed to peek, otherwise I'll gouge out your eyes. Hey, you're already considered one of my people now. What's wrong with me peeking?" Yang Kai teased. "You." Ji Meng was extremely angry and gnashed her teeth for a moment before angrily saying, "I don't mind, but Yingyu can't." Saying so, the two women entered the snow cave one after the other. After a while, there was a rustling sound. Obviously they were taking off their bloody clothes. Yang Kai was stunned. He suddenly felt that the other party didn't seem to have any intention of going back on their words. She wouldn't really give herself to him, right? Yang Kai's face was filled with black lines. If he became entangled with her, he would be in big trouble. He was indeed despicable enough. How could he have proposed such a condition? After waiting for almost half an hour, Ji Meng's voice came from inside, "You can come in now." Yang Kai smiled and walked over to the snow cave before lowering his head and entering. The inside was indeed very spacious, and it didn't feel cold or damp at all. On the contrary, compared to the outside environment, this snow cave gave off a warm feeling. The two women had already changed into clean clothes, causing Yang Kai's eyes to light up. The first time they met, Chi Chao had stood in front of them, so Yang Kai had taken note of their appearances. The second time they met, they were in a sorry state, covered in blood, so he couldn't see their faces clearly. Looking at them now, the older one had a proud figure and a beautiful face, while the younger one was exquisite and unique, quite cute. However, at this moment, this great beauty was glaring at Yang Kai with a look of displeasure, as if she wanted to swallow him alive. Gritting her teeth, the little beauty shrunk to the side and stared timidly at Yang Kai, appearing very weak. "Hello," Yang Kai greeted them and sat down cross-legged across from them. I thought you were strong, but it turns out that in front of this ice crystal wolf, all you can do is flee, Jimeng said sarcastically. Before, when she saw Yang Kai's calm expression, not showing the slightest fear in front of the seventh-order monster beast, even casually chatting with her, Jimeng mistakenly thought he had some kind of extraordinary means, but in the end, she was greatly disappointed. This young man was just a bit faster. He didn't even have the courage to face this ice crystal wolf head-on. Even if you didn't flee, I still saved you, Yang Kai didn't care. In front of unfamiliar outsiders, he wasn't willing to show his strength. A seventh-order monster beast was equivalent to a transcendent. If he really killed it in front of these two women, it was very likely he would expose his true combat strength. Before determining their identities and temperaments, Yang Kai wouldn't take such a risk. No matter what, thank you for saving us, Jimeng suddenly said, her expression sincere, reaching out and gently touching Zhu Yingyu. Zhu Yingyu was still in a state of shock, so her reaction was inevitably a bit exaggerated, but after realizing Jimeng's intentions, she blushed and whispered, "Thank you." "It was nothing, you're welcome." Yang Kai couldn't help feeling much better. "Also, about what happened before, we want to apologize to you." Jimeng bit her lip and said with a bitter expression, "When Chi Chao lied to you, we wanted to warn you, but we didn't know your origins or your intentions for entering the Snow Mountain Range, nor did we know your strength, so, it doesn't matter, one must always be on guard against others." Yang Kai chuckled. "That person is also dead, this matter ends here." Jimeng gently nodded, suddenly finding that this young man was actually quite easy to talk to, not at all as cold-blooded and ruthless as he had shown himself to be before. "We are disciples of Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. My name is Jimeng and she is Zhu Yingyu. What about you?" Jimeng introduced herself before turning to Yang Kai and asking. Yang Kai reported his name. "Which great force do you belong to?" Jimeng asked curiously. "I don't belong to any sect, I'm a loner." "That's impossible." Jimeng was slightly surprised. "Looking at your methods, it doesn't seem like you don't belong to any great force. Although you're not the most powerful person here, you're still quite good." Being able to rescue two people from the Ice Crystal Wolf's violent attack, Jimeng felt that Chi Chao wouldn't be able to do such a thing. Cultivating alone with no one to guide him, how could he be so powerful? "How did you get lost in the Snow Mountain Range? Where are you going?" Jimeng continued to ask, seemingly wanting to learn more about Yang Kai. "I accidentally entered here and couldn't find the way out. As for where to go, I haven't decided yet, so I'll just go wherever there are people," Yang Kai said casually. "Oh." Jimeng nodded and explained, "Although this Snow Mountain Range is not the territory of any great force, because there are only 2 or 3 great forces in the vicinity, my Bright Thunder Spirit Religion is one of them. Basically, where we are now is under the jurisdiction of my Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. Many disciples will enter the Snow Mountain Range to look for opportunities, to see if they can find rare herbs or precious treasures. If you don't have a place to go, you might as well come with us." Yang Kai glanced at the two of them and knew that they were not inviting him because of their good impression of him, nor because they wanted to fulfill their previous agreement, but because they were both heavily injured and needed someone to protect them. "All right." Yang Kai nodded. "Thank you." Jimeng's expression relaxed as a bright smile appeared on her face. For the next few days, the three of them traveled together. The Snow Mountain Range was long and the two women were injured, so their speed was naturally not fast. Moreover, while they were walking, they would occasionally look for herbs buried deep under the snow, delaying them a lot. Yang Kai wasn't in a hurry. Having someone lead the way was much faster than walking aimlessly. After 3 or 5 days, they were far away from the dangerous territory of the Snow Mountain Range. While walking, Yang Kai suddenly stopped and stared into the distance, a moment later turning to Jimeng and saying, "There seems to be some people from your Bright Thunder Spirit Religion coming over." "Really?" Jimeng was pleasantly surprised, looking up but not seeing anything. "Ien, they're wearing the same golden robes you were wearing before," Yang Kai nodded. "That means they're from my Bright Thunder Spirit Religion." Jimeng clenched Zhu Yingyu's hand, her tense nerves finally relaxing. Zhu Yingyu also smiled happily. Yang Kai frowned and said, "If they find an outsider like me in the Snow Mountain Range, won't there be some trouble?" Ji Meng stared blankly for a moment before saying, "It doesn't matter, as long as you're with us, you'll be fine. There's no need for that, we'll meet again." Saying so, Yang Kai didn't turn around and quickly flew off. Ji Meng didn't have time to stop him, and in the blink of an eye, Yang Kai had disappeared. Ah! Zhu Yingyu stared in the direction Yang Kai disappeared in amazement and muttered, "Why did he just leave like that?" Ji Meng stood in place with a complicated expression and thought for a moment before grit her teeth and muttering, "That bastard, it turns out he was lying to me, making me worry for so long." "What did he lie to you about?" "He said he wanted me to devote myself to him. I thought he was serious." Ji Meng's face flushed red. Now it seemed those words were just a joke. If Yang Kai really had such intentions, how could he have just walked away like that? "He's a good person," Zhu Yingyu grinned. "Is elder sister Ji tempted? It's not too late to chase after him." "What nonsense are you talking about?" Ji Meng curled her lips. However, this person really wasn't bad. After getting along with him for a few days, Ji Meng found that he wasn't as hateful as he appeared to be before. Chapter 672. At the edge of the Snow Mountain Range, Grand Boulder City. This was the only city within a few thousand-kilometer radius. Numerous cultivators came and went, and the various trading centers and shops here were extremely popular. Bright Thunder Spirit Religion wasn't the only sect near the Snow Mountain Range. There were also 2 or 3 other forces that had settled down here. Grand Boulder City, as a hub for these forces, naturally acted as a hub for exchanging materials between the various cultivators. A cultivator's cultivation wasn't something that could be done behind closed doors. Instead, they often relied on external items. Pills, artifacts, all of which belonged to the category of external items. These were indispensable aids to a cultivator in battle. Exchanging what one didn't need for what one did need, a transaction would naturally occur. After separating from Ji Meng and Zhu Yingyu, Yang Kai walked for 4 days before arriving at Grand Boulder City. Seeing the jostling crowd, Yang Kai showed a happy smile. During this time, he could be considered to have died of loneliness. He wasn't looking for someone to talk to, it was just that in this vast snow mountain range, there was no one for 10,000 kilometers, not even the slightest bit of vitality, making him feel a little depressed. At the city gate, there were several cultivators wearing guard uniforms, inspecting the pedestrians passing by. When it was Yang Kai's turn, Yang Kai learned from the people who had entered before and quietly slipped a crystal stone to the guard. The guard put away the crystal stone without leaving a trace and shot Yang Kai a meaningful glance before moving aside. "Many thanks." Yang Kai smiled and stepped into Grand Boulder City. Grand Boulder City didn't only have cultivators from the nearby forces, but also cultivators from all over the world. Because this place was next to the Snow Mountain Range, it produced some spirit grasses and spirit medicines that could only be grown under extremely cold conditions. Many cultivators had a need for these. Grand Boulder City didn't refuse anyone, but if one didn't want to be checked, they had to hand over crystal stones. This was one of Grand Boulder City's main ways of making money. The numerous shops in the city were Grand Boulder City's main source of income. The owners of these shops in Grand Boulder City were mostly disciples of several nearby forces, and very few outsiders were able to get involved in the business here. Yang Kai's footsteps were light and quick as he wandered around the shops, buying the herbs he needed. Although Yang Kai had given most of his crystal stones to the ancient demon clan before leaving the small sealed world, he still had a lot left. This amount of crystal stones was still quite a lot for a single person. Yang Kai was also paying attention to the materials needed to refine the saint-level pill. Before leaving, Li Rong had told him all this information, but what Yang Kai hadn't expected was that it was actually a saint-grade high-rank pill. Right now, he could barely refine a high-grade spirit-grade pill, but there was still a big gap between him and a high-grade saint-grade pill. Along the way, after sweeping through several dozen shops, Yang Kai's harvest was quite bountiful. A variety of herbs piled up inside the black book space. Arriving at a large shop, Yang Kai spent a large amount of crystal stones to exchange for many of the materials he needed. "Little brother seems quite unfamiliar. Why are you buying so many herbs for alchemy?" The shop owner, who was an Immortal Ascension 8th stage cultivator, looked at Yang Kai with interest, his white hair giving him a somewhat amiable appearance as he stroked his beard and asked, "Shopkeeper, are you here to do business or to inquire about information?" Yang Kai stared at him and asked with a smile. The other party's sudden question inevitably made Yang Kai a little vigilant, but in Grand Boulder City, public security was quite good and there wouldn't be any fights for no reason. Even if there was friction between cultivators, they would settle it outside the city. So, Yang Kai wasn't afraid. "I was just casually asking, if little brother doesn't want to answer, there's no need to." The shop owner was stunned, seemingly aware of Yang Kai's vigilance and didn't want him to misunderstand, "But if little brother is an alchemist, you can get a discount when you buy herbs." "Discount? Why would I get a discount?" Yang Kai asked curiously. He had never heard of any shop that would give alchemists a discount. Before the shop owner could answer, a nearby cultivator who was looking for herbs laughed, "Because this is a shop opened by the Alchemist Guild, as long as you are an alchemist, you can enjoy all kinds of preferential treatment, don't you know?" As he spoke, he walked over and handed the selected herbs to the shop owner and handed him a jade token. Yang Kai could clearly see that the jade token was engraved with the word pill. The shop owner glanced at the herbs, calculated the price, picked up the jade token, and poured yuan qi into it. The jade token instantly flashed and the shop owner nodded slightly. "Spirit-grade low-rank alchemist, according to the rules of the guild, we can give you a 20% discount." The cultivator quickly handed over the crystal stones and the shop owner put them away, completing the transaction. After buying the herbs, the cultivator left without looking back. Yang Kai was dumbfounded. The Alchemist Guild is a force established by all the alchemists in the world. Only alchemists are eligible to join. As long as you are an alchemist of the guild, you will receive preferential treatment when you buy things from one of the guild's shops. Moreover, the guild's shops are all over the world, so you can enjoy the guild's care wherever you go, the shop owner explained with a smile. "Shopkeeper, how do you know I'm an alchemist?" Yang Kai asked curiously. The other party had obviously confirmed that he was an alchemist, so there was no point in pretending to be ignorant. Yang Kai was very curious. Where did this old shop owner, who was only an immortal Ascension Boundary 8th stage cultivator, get this kind of insight? An alchemist is different from an ordinary cultivator. I have been guarding this shop for several decades now and have seen many alchemists come and go. Whether you are an alchemist or not, I can tell at a glance. The shop owner slowly shook his head, appearing somewhat enigmatic. "Although little brother is young, from the grade of herbs you have chosen, you should at least be a mysterious grade low-rank alchemist, right?" Yang Kai remained indifferent and didn't deny it. The old shop owner's eyes lit up. "The younger generation will surpass us in time. This old master has studied alchemy for many years but is still only a mysterious grade high-rank alchemist. I really envy you." Alchemy was also a matter of aptitude. There is a branch of the guild in Grand Boulder City. If you want to enjoy discounts when buying herbs in the future, you might as well go there and get a jade token. Not only will it help you save crystal stones, but it will also make it more convenient for you to travel the world. Alchemists are valued everywhere. Basically no one will find trouble with you, the old shop owner said with a smile. "Many thanks for the advice." Yang Kai cupped his fists. "You're welcome." Walking out of the shop, Yang Kai fell into contemplation. It was undeniable that the old shop owner's words had moved him. Being able to buy herbs at a discount was only one of the reasons. Although he had a lot of crystal stones on hand right now, these things would run out one day, so he had to save as much as he could. What Yang Kai cared about the most was that alchemists could be valued by any great force. Yang Kai's only wish after coming to Tongxian Realm was to find Su Yang and his little senior sister. However, this world was so vast that it was impossible for him to find them with his own strength. Unlike back in the central capital, where he had gathered a large number of available helpers, he could find anyone he wanted and do whatever he wanted. Here, he could only rely on himself. When Shui Ling and Yun Xian invited him to join Water Spirit Temple or Bold Independent Union, Yang Kai didn't know alchemy yet, so he politely refused their kindness. Because Yang Kai wanted to rely on his own strength to find Su Yang and the others. But now, it seemed that this idea was somewhat unrealistic. Could he use his status as an alchemist to seek refuge with some great force and have them help him find them? Inside an inn, Yang Kai thought about it for a long time before deciding to go to the Alchemist Guild and get a jade token. This jade token alone could save him a lot of trouble, so it was worth Yang Kai's attention. After asking around Grand Boulder City, Yang Kai soon found the location of the Alchemist Guild. In front of the magnificent Alchemist Guild, Yang Kai stood for a long time and shook his head. Although he had long heard that alchemists were a group of rich guys, Yang Kai hadn't expected them to be rich to this extent. The entire Alchemist Guild, from the outside, was very different from the other buildings in Grand Boulder City, exuding a rich aura. Outside the palace, birds and beasts carved from rare ores gave off faint energy fluctuations. Obviously, they were all engraved with powerful spirit arrays. If someone dared to have any ideas about this building, they would definitely suffer a big loss. As far as the eye could see, the interior of the association was also covered with thick red carpets. Everywhere was decorated with sparkling and translucent gemstones. Occasionally, alchemists would enter and leave, but all of them had arrogant and indifferent looks on their faces, as if they were some kind of big shot. A top-notch alchemist could be rich enough to rival an entire country and had a respected status. This was not a legend, it was a real thing. In the central capital, alchemists and artifact refiners were relatively noble existences, but in Tongxian realm, this inexplicable nobility seemed to be magnified several times. "Boy, what are you looking around for?" An angry shout suddenly rang out as a big bearded man glared at Yang Kai and shouted, "Which great force do you belong to? Don't you know where you are?" "Hello." Yang Kai's expression remained unchanged as he nodded slightly. "I want to receive an alchemist jade token." "Receive a jade token? You're an alchemist?" The big man was stunned when he heard this and swept his divine sense over Yang Kai. After a long time, he nodded slightly. Not bad, you have a yang attribute true qi in your body, so you should be able to perform alchemy. You're too young, haven't you only just started studying?" "Haha, I haven't been studying for long." Yang Kai smiled and nodded. "Good, come in." The big man tilted his head and gestured before walking inside. Yang Kai hurriedly followed. Along the way, Yang Kai was amazed. From the outside, the Alchemist Guild seemed quite amazing, but after entering, he realized that it was a place filled with riches. After learning that Yang Kai was also an alchemist, the big man slightly restrained his contemptuous attitude towards him, but he wasn't too easygoing either, shouting along the way, "Since you want to become a member of the Alchemist Guild, as long as you pass our test, you can get the jade token you want. But you must remember, even if you become an official alchemist, you are not allowed to do anything harmful to humanity. If you dare perform alchemy for a monster race member from the demon race, don't blame the guild for cleaning you up." "Ahem, of course," Yang Kai quickly said. Chapter 673. This big man had only said this casually, he hadn't expected him to be so direct. Yang Kai practiced alchemy in order to refine pills for the demon race. Moreover, he was from the ancient demon clan, a clan that had been forgotten by the world for thousands of years. He was a servant of the great demon god. Inside the Alchemist Guild, a light medicinal fragrance filled the air. From time to time, Yang Kai could feel the hot yuan qi flowing through the side rooms. Presumably, the alchemists were diligently performing alchemy. After following the big man to a relatively remote room, the big man left him behind and said, "Wait here, someone will come to greet you in a while." Yang Kai nodded slightly and casually found a chair to sit down on. The room wasn't big and there wasn't much furniture inside, so it was quite empty. Yang Kai waited for a full 2 hours, and just as he was about to become impatient, he heard the sound of hurried footsteps. Soon, the door was pushed open and a woman with an ugly expression walked in. Looking Yang Kai up and down, she asked, "Are you the one who wants to join the Alchemist Guild?" Yang Kai nodded, stood up, and asked, "Can we begin the test now? How long have you been studying alchemy?" The woman frowned, seemingly a little unhappy as she asked coldly, "Not long, I don't know exactly how long." It had only been a little over a year since Yang Kai started practicing alchemy, but if one counted the basic knowledge, it would be several years. From the time he obtained the true alchemic way until now, it had been at least 4 or 5 years, but he had only been intermittently prying into the mysteries of the true alchemic way. With this woman asking such a question, he didn't know how to answer. Deliberately mystifying. The woman coldly snorted, somewhat dissatisfied that Yang Kai didn't directly answer her question. Reaching into the universe bag at her waist, she hesitated for a moment before taking out a herb and handing it to Yang Kai. This is a heaven-grade low-rank cold star grass. Condense it into a medicinal liquid for me to see. Yang Kai reached out and took it, staring at her in amazement. Condense it just like that? The woman sneered, if you can't even do this, then you don't need to join the association. Do you think the association will accept just anyone? Only heaven-grade alchemists and above were qualified to have their own jade tokens. Hurry up, I'm in a hurry. As he spoke, he muttered, Master is really too much. Such a young brat, can't he just chase him out? Wasting my precious time. When Yang Kai heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. He also understood why this woman had an unhappy expression on her face. It turned out that his arrival had delayed her refining time. When an alchemist was concocting pills, it was a taboo to be disturbed, so Yang Kai could understand why the woman was unhappy. However, her words and demeanor clearly showed that she was looking down on him, which made Yang Kai feel a little helpless. She probably thought that he had really just started learning alchemy. Thinking so, Yang Kai began circulating his yuan qi, wrapping it around the cold star grass in his hand and injecting his yuan qi into the herb. Soon, a faint fragrance filled the air, and the woman finally withdrew her look of contempt and focused on the movements of Yang Kai's hands. The cold star grass seemed to have been melted, completely turning into a liquid. Under the influence of the yuan qi, it floated above Yang Kai's palm, a wisp of impurities escaping and evaporating. As time passed, a heaven-grade low-rank cold star grass was quickly condensed into a medicinal liquid, a vibrant emerald green color. With Yang Kai's skill and technique, it was easy for him to condense heaven-grade herbs. Even without a pill furnace or spirit array, he could still get rid of the impurities. In just a few breaths of time, the medicinal liquid had taken shape. The woman released her divine sense and carefully examined it, a trace of surprise finally appearing on her pretty face as she looked at Yang Kai in astonishment. Is this enough? Yang Kai asked. He could still condense the medicinal liquid to a higher level, but he didn't do so. This level should be enough to meet the woman's requirements. Let me ask you, what grade of pill can you refine? The woman looked at Yang Kai with a serious face. Only now did she discover that she seemed to have underestimated this young boy's means and ability. Spirit grade. What? The woman's face suddenly changed as she looked at Yang Kai in disbelief. Spirit grade low rank. Sometimes you may fail. Yang Kai added, he didn't dare to say his ability was too high, so as not to attract the attention of others, but spirit grade low rank seemed to be somewhat unacceptable to this woman. Impossible, you are at most 20 years old, how can you refine a spirit grade pill? I can refine it for you to see. Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders. The woman stared at him deeply, as if she wanted to see if he was boasting. After a while, she said seriously, come with me. If you really have this ability, then it's not within the scope of my assessment. She was just a mysterious grade top-rank alchemist. How could she take the spirit grade assessment? In another room, the burly man Yang Kai had seen before was studying an ancient alchemy book in his hand with a worried look on his face. Facing a profound spirit array, he seemed to be unable to understand it and was clearly distressed. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door and the big man looked up and asked, "What's the matter?" "Master," the woman called out softly, "it's about the young man who just wanted to join the association." "Oh, did he pass the test?" the big man asked. "No. If he didn't, then don't bother me, go refine your own alchemy." The woman gritted her teeth and suddenly kicked open the door. Yang Kai was stunned. The woman stormed into the room, causing the big bearded man to slap the table angrily. "How dare you ignore your master's orders? Do you still see me as your master in your eyes?" The woman snorted and put her hands on her hips, a look of annoyance on her face as she said, "Master, didn't you say that guy had just started learning alchemy?" "Yes, what's the problem? Then why can he refine a spirit grade pill?" I even used a heaven-grade low-rank cold star grass to test him. It's so embarrassing. Heh. The big man was stunned. He can refine a spirit-grade pill? Impossible. You little girl are lying to me again. I've brought him here, whether he has this ability or not, you can verify it yourself. The woman beckoned to the outside and Yang Kai braced himself and walked in. The big man stared at Yang Kai with a dignified look and shouted, "You think you can refine a spirit-grade pill?" Yang Kai nodded solemnly. The big man's expression suddenly became serious as he gloomily said, "Boy, you need to know that this is the Alchemist Guild. No matter which force you come from, if you dare to talk nonsense here, you won't leave here alive." Yang Kai rubbed his forehead, feeling a headache coming on. He just wanted to get a jade token, he didn't expect there would be so many twists and turns. "Forget it, I won't get a jade token. I'm sorry for disturbing you, goodbye." "You dare." The big man roared, his voice like a bell as he sneered, "Do you think the Alchemist Guild is a place where you can come and go as you please? It's useless to feel guilty. I will prepare the materials for you and see how you can refine a spirit-grade pill. If you can't satisfy me, heh. I also want to know if you really have this ability." The woman also glanced sideways at Yang Kai. Yang Kai took a deep breath, feeling extremely helpless. "Mina, take out your spirit-grade materials." The big man stared at Yang Kai and ordered the woman. The woman nodded gently and rummaged around in her universe bag. Soon, a pile of spirit-grade materials appeared on the table in the room. The big man stretched out his hand again and a head-sized furnace appeared in his hand. Looking at Yang Kai, he said, "This is my own furnace. I collected the materials for 8 years and asked a saint-grade artifact refiner to refine it. It can greatly increase the chances of successfully refining a pill. Don't say I didn't take care of you. If you can't refine a spirit-grade pill with this furnace, you can just wait for your head to roll." Saying so, he threw the furnace over. Yang Kai caught it, weighed it in his hand, and nodded with satisfaction. The quality of this furnace was very good, far superior to ordinary furnaces, and the spirit array engraved inside was also used to increase the chances of successfully refining a pill, but Yang Kai was keenly aware that the spirit array inside was incomplete and couldn't display its full potential. "There are 5 sets of spirit-grade materials here. If you can refine 3 sets, I'll consider you passed the test. If you can't, heh." The big man sneered and said, "You can start, I'll be watching you, don't try to play any tricks." Now that things had come to this point, Yang Kai couldn't back down. Placing the furnace on the table, he carefully examined the 5 sets of materials. A moment later, his brow wrinkled and he changed the positions of several of the herbs. The large man and the woman looked at him suspiciously. They didn't know why he looked so confident. Moreover, the 5 sets of ingredients were the best, so how could he casually change the positions of several of them? The 2 of them didn't say anything and just watched quietly. A moment later, Yang Kai began to move, skillfully adding the herbs into the furnace one by one. The yuan qi was poured into the furnace and condensed into a medicinal liquid. Whether it was the heat or the timing, everything was controlled perfectly. The big man and the woman's eyes lit up. Just from this action alone, they realized that this young man seemed to have some skill and wasn't just boasting. His technique and self-confidence obviously came from his usual practice. As the herbs were added into the furnace, under Yang Kai's control, the room gradually filled with a medicinal fragrance. The big man and the woman stared at Yang Kai without blinking, their expressions gradually becoming dignified, no longer showing any contempt. After the time it would take to burn a stick of incense, Yang Kai reached out and patted the pill furnace, causing a round golden pill to fly out. The big man's eyes were sharp and his hands were quick, reaching out and sucking this pill into his palm. Carefully perceiving it, his eyes widened as he muttered, "It really is a spirit-grade pill. Is this little brat really so powerful?" Mina was also dumbfounded. She hadn't expected that Yang Kai could really refine a spirit-grade pill. Although it was only a spirit-grade low-rank pill, it was something she couldn't do herself. The medicinal properties are restrained, the herbs aren't wasted at all, just a little bit more and it would have formed pill veins. Amazing, the big man sighed as if it was a bit regretful. Chapter 674. Once a spirit-grade high-rank alchemist formed pill veins, the value of a spirit-grade high-rank alchemist would double. Even with big hand skills, he could only occasionally refine 1 or 2 pills with pill veins, and that was only if his luck was extremely good and he was in peak condition. As for the legendary pill clouds, even he had never seen one before. Holding this spirit pill, the big bearded man was speechless for a long time. An hour later, young Kai finished his alchemy. 5 sets of materials, a total of 4 spirit pills had been refined, but the last set of materials had failed. This was something that young Kai had done on purpose. At this moment, whether it was the big man or the young woman, both of them were staring at young Kai dumbfoundedly, completely dumbfounded. "Master, is this guy some kind of beauty-preserving technique? Otherwise, how could I look only 20 years old? No, this should be his real age. Amazing, how could he be so amazing?" Saying so, he glanced at the young woman with a look of disappointment. "Master, can you not look at me like that? I've already tried my best," Mina said, feeling very wronged. Her alchemy aptitude was also quite outstanding, and she was a very famous existence within a few thousand kilometers. Several nearby great forces were trying to win her over as an honored guest. Because of this aptitude, Mina usually thought highly of herself, but in front of these 4 spirit pills, her pride had been shattered. The master and disciple pair whispered to each other for a while, but young Kai didn't deliberately eavesdrop. After waiting for a while, he asked, "Did I pass the test?" The big man was surprised when he heard this, but he soon chuckled and nodded, "Yes, you definitely passed. Then my jade token, don't worry, the jade token will definitely be given to you, but before that, you need to see someone. Wait, I'll call him over." Saying so, the big man rushed out. Suddenly, only young Kai and the young woman were left in the room. Young Kai was speechless. "You really make people look at you in a new light." The woman let out a heartfelt sigh of admiration and generously extended her hand, no longer displaying her previous contempt and casualness as she solemnly said, "Let me introduce myself again. My name is Mina, a mysterious grade top-rank alchemist and a member of this alchemist branch." Young Kai. Young Kai chuckled and gently shook her hand. "Where did you come from?" Mina asked curiously. "To the west." Mina looked at him and pursed her lips into a smile. "Forget it, I won't ask anymore. Look at how vigilant you are." To the west was a vast snowy mountain. When young Kai said that he came from there, it was obviously a little perfunctory. "Oh right, why did you change the configuration of the 5 sets of materials just now? Isn't that your test?" Young Kai was stunned. Mina slowly shook her head. "That was the configuration I thought was the best, but after you changed it, it seems like it's easier to refine it. Who taught you to do that?" "Intuition." Young Kai felt a little guilty. He didn't think too much about it just now and thought that the other party had deliberately put in the wrong herbs to test his skills, but it turned out that wasn't the case. "Why did you do that?" "The pill recipe my master taught me is not like this. Is there something wrong with master's pill recipe?" Mina frowned. Young Kai thought about it for a moment and didn't try to hide it, carefully explaining it to her. Mina's eyes lit up as she listened and nodded, suddenly feeling like she had learned a lot. While the two of them were discussing the accuracy and rigor of the pill recipe inside the room, outside, the big man and the other man stopped to listen, and the more they listened, the more surprised they became. Because even they hadn't thought of changing the pill recipe, but after changing it, they found that it was much better than the original one. At the very least, if they used young Kai's method to refine it, they could avoid many unnecessary failures, increase the chances of successfully refining a pill, and fully display the medicinal efficacies of the herbs. "Where did you find this little brat?" the man asked the big bearded man. "He delivered himself to us," the big man shrugged. "Did you pick up a treasure?" The other man didn't deny it, simply pushing the door open and walking in. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Kai Yang quickly turned his head to look, only to see the bearded big man and another old man with a transcendent aura walk in together. Mina quickly introduced them to young Kai. "This is Old Man Du. Old Man Du is the owner of this place, a saint-grade low-rank alchemist." Young Kai couldn't help feeling a sense of respect and quickly bowed. Du Wn smiled and nodded, Little friend doesn't need to be so polite, we will all be family in the future. This is my master, a spirit-grade high-rank alchemist. Yi Xiong grinned at Yang Kai. Sit down, old man Du gestured. After everyone was seated, Mina brought out a few cups of fragrant tea from somewhere and served them. Old man Du took a sip before smiling. I understand little friend's purpose for coming here. Being able to refine a spirit-grade pill, you are indeed qualified to have your own jade token. This old master will present the jade token that represents his status as an alchemist to you later. Many thanks, Yang Kai nodded. Can this old master ask, who is little friend's master? Asking so, Du Wn stared at Yang Kai with a burning gaze. After listening to Yi Xiong's report, Du Wn only faintly felt that this young man wasn't simple, but after listening to many of his unique insights at the entrance, Du Wn immediately realized that Yang Kai was extraordinary. Even he didn't understand the profound meaning behind those insights, so how could a little brat comprehend them? The only possibility was that someone was guiding him from behind. Du Wan really wanted to know which alchemist could teach such a disciple. At such a young age, his cultivation had already reached the peak immortal ascension boundary, and he was even a spirit-grade alchemist. What kind of earth-shaking master was this? Although Old Man Du was a saint-grade alchemist and had a highly respected status, there were still some alchemists above him, not to mention those old monsters who lived in seclusion in the mountains and forests all year round. These old monsters might not appear for dozens or hundreds of years, but each one of them was a man with heaven-defying means and divine technique, making it impossible for others to guess. Moreover, these old monsters with astonishing cultivations were very protective of their own. It was very likely that some of their descendants would come out of their seclusion and enter the world to gain experience. Their descendants would often be able to blossom with dazzling brilliance in just a few short years, and their names would soon spread throughout the continent. This young man named Yang Kai in front of him was very suspicious. He was a spirit-grade alchemist, but his name wasn't recorded in the Alchemist Guild's records, and he didn't even have a jade token. This was clearly because he had just come out of seclusion not too long ago. Old Man Du looked at Yang Kai and seemed to see a hidden behemoth behind him. He couldn't help but be cautious, so naturally he wanted to figure out Yang Kai's true identity. Yi Xiong and Mina also looked at him with shining eyes, obviously very interested in this topic. Master. Yang Kai smiled bitterly and shook his head. I don't have a master, and no one has taught me. No master, haha. Old Man Du smiled lightly, not taking this matter seriously. It would be strange if this young man could so easily dig up the background behind him. Yang Kai saying this only further confirmed Old Man Du's guess that his background was extraordinary. However, such a way of saying that he was hiding 300 taels of silver here was too childish. Young people really didn't know how to hide themselves. This kind of mysterious descendant, when traveling the world, would never advertise their master or sect. However, if one could establish a good relationship with such a person, one might be able to establish a connection with their master and obtain huge benefits. 100 years ago, there was a not-so-strong force that had befriended such a descendant who had come out for life experience. 10 years later, this force became enemies with another great force and suffered heavy casualties. However, overnight, this enemy force was completely annihilated and disappeared from Tongshen realm. Old Man Du was a saint-grade alchemist, so no one would come looking for trouble with him, let alone make enemies. Naturally, he had no intention of borrowing the power of others. What he valued was the alchemy methods of the person who had taught Yang Kai. Being able to teach Yang Kai, that person must be a top alchemist. Old Man Du had been stuck at the bottleneck of saint-grade low rank for many years now. If he could obtain pointers from such a powerful master, he may be able to break through to saint-grade mid-rank in one fell swoop. Then where does little friend plan to settle down? Old Man Du asked kindly. I don't know, I'll stay in Grand Boulder City for a while. Yang Kai shook his head. I just came out from a very remote place not long ago and am unfamiliar with this world. Speaking of which, I'm not afraid Old Man Du will laugh at me, but I haven't even heard of many of the great forces here. This is the first time I've heard of the Alchemist Guild. Du Wan's seemingly cloudy eyes couldn't help but light up as he smiled and nodded. Good, 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 as long as little friend is still in Grand Boulder City, you can come to this old master and ask. If there's anything you don't understand, this old master can answer it for you. Yang Kai's expression became strange, wondering why this saint-grade alchemist was treating him so well. Old man Du, can he live in the Alchemist Guild? Mina suddenly proposed. Old man Du smiled and said, that depends on little friend's intentions. I can live here. Yang Kai was stunned. Mina explained, as long as you are an alchemist, you can live here. In the entire Alchemist Guild, there are basically only the three of us who live here, the others have all taken refuge in the nearby great forces. Occasionally, some alchemists from other places will come here to rest. So, this place is relatively quiet. If you don't have anywhere to go, you can live here. Living here, we can compare notes on alchemy, it's good for everyone, what do you think? Mina obviously hoped that Yang Kai would stay. Just now, after talking with him for a while, she had benefited a lot, so naturally, she wanted to communicate more with Yang Kai. Then, I'll have to trouble you. Since Mina was looking at him expectantly, Yang Kai was too embarrassed to refuse. Moreover, this old man Du and Yi Xiong didn't have the slightest malicious intent. Little friend is too polite, old man Du smiled. But I shouldn't stay here for long. Yang Kai added. Everything will be as little friend wishes. Saying so, Du Wn took out a jade token and pushed it towards Yang Kai. This is my Alchemist Guild's identity token. With this thing, you can enjoy preferential treatment in any shop opened by the Alchemist Guild. If you encounter any danger, just take out this jade token and under normal circumstances, you'll be safe. Many thanks, old man Du. Yang Kai took the jade token and poured his true qi into it, a look of joy quickly filling his face. There was a mysterious energy hidden inside this jade token that would allow anyone who sensed it to easily figure out what grade of alchemist the owner of this jade token was. Chapter 675. 500 kilometers away from Boulder City, there was a place with beautiful scenery. Although this place was also on the edge of the snowy mountains, it was full of birds and fragrant flowers all year round. The temperature was pleasant. Houses were located in a huge valley, and from time to time, some cultivator with high cultivation would come in and out. This place was the foundation of a large force. At this moment, in a secret room, an old man who had been meditating all year round suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were shining brightly, and a look of suspicion appeared on his face. He raised his head and stared in the direction of Grand Boulder City. At this moment, he felt an obscure energy fluctuation coming from the other side. This energy fluctuation gave him a sense of déjà vu. After thinking for a moment, the old man made several mysterious hand seals and a beam of energy shot out. A moment later, the old man stretched out his hand and drew a circle in front of him. Suddenly, ripples appeared in the void, and a vague figure emerged from those ripples. The old man stared blankly, the expression on his face becoming more and more strange and bewildered. He silently memorized the general characteristics of this figure. Just as he was about to carefully observe it, the ripples in front of him suddenly spread more frequently. The figure coldly turned his head and looked over with a vigilant and suspicious expression. Such strong vigilance. The old man was shocked. He could sense that at this age, the other person's cultivation was definitely not too high. He had used the great divine technique to spy on him from several hundred kilometers away, but he had been discovered. The next moment, the ripples spread and the figure disappeared. Interesting. The old man smiled faintly and called out, Kang Yang. The door was pushed open. A man with a restrained aura walked in and respectfully asked, Grandmaster, what are your orders? Go to Boulder City. Find this person for me. The old man stretched out his hand and pointed, and a beam of energy rushed into the Tsungyen's mind. The Tsungyen immediately saw the vague figure. Yes. The Tsungyen nodded solemnly. Well, be polite to him. The old man was still worried. The Tsungyen's expression was strange, but he did not ask anything. He quickly left the secret room and prepared to go to Boulder City. Alchemist Association. Mina, who was asking Yang Kai about the Tao of alchemy, stared at Yang Kai in a daze. "What's wrong with you?" Yang Kai frowned as he stared at a certain spot in the void. At that moment, he actually had the illusion that he was being spied on and couldn't help but shudder. But when he carefully investigated, he found nothing. Nothing. Yang Kai shook his head. He was also puzzled. With his divine sense cultivation, even if he was being probed by a transcendent, he would still be able to clearly detect it. Unless it was a Saint Realm master, but how could such a master possibly target him? After arriving in Tongshen Realm, Yang Kai had not made any enemies. The only succubus demon had been killed by him. Oh! Mina didn't ask any more questions and instead continued to consult Yang Kai on the details of alchemy. Yang Kai didn't hold back and answered her questions and doubts as best as he could. Of course, when it came to the secrets of the true alchemic way, it was a secret. Of course, he wouldn't reveal them. The true alchemic way was most likely something left behind by the great demon god. If this kind of information were to be revealed, it would only do him more harm than good. After living in the Alchemist Guild for more than half a month, whether it was Old Man Du, Yi Xiong, or Mina, all of them treated him like family, which made the wandering Yang Kai feel some warmth in his heart. However, Yang Kai found that in addition to Mina, Old Man Du and Yi Xiong were sometimes too kind to him, not showing the proper attitude of an elder towards a junior, which made him feel somewhat uncomfortable. These days, Yang Kai had been performing alchemy all this time, so the materials he had purchased were rapidly being consumed. Before, in Demon God Citadel, when Li Rong and the others provided him with herbs, Yang Kai didn't think much of it, but now that he was preparing materials for alchemy, he found that the consumption was simply too great. Even if he had a lot of crystal stones on hand, it wouldn't be long before he ran out. However, he had to constantly improve his grade and skills through alchemy. Mina, how can you guarantee you have enough materials for alchemy? Who's as abnormal as you? Mina rolled her eyes. Your alchemy speed is too fast. My master needs half a day to refine a single spirit pill. He can only refine 2 a day at most. Yang Kai was stunned. However, we can sell the pills we refine and exchange them for Jingsha. Then, we can buy materials to continue refining. Yang Kai couldn't help but light up. He had been performing alchemy all this time, completely forgetting that he could sell the pills he refined. Because until now, Yang Kai had never worried about making money, nor did he think about how to make money. Most of the pills he had were spirit-grade pills, and whether it was quality or grade, they were quite suitable for most cultivators, so he definitely wouldn't have to worry about selling them. Under Mina's lead, Yang Kai and her came to the shop opened by the Alchemist Guild. The old shop owner who had guided Yang Kai before gave him a very good price, not only getting back all the crystal stones he had spent, but also making a big profit. After purchasing enough materials, Yang Kai once again returned to the Alchemist Guild. Time flew by, and soon, a month had passed. After determining that the people in the Alchemist Guild had no malicious intentions towards him, Yang Kai decided to talk to Old Man Du. Yang Kai didn't plan to stay in the Alchemist Guild for the rest of his life. He had another purpose for entering the Alchemist Guild, which was to use his respected status as an alchemist to achieve his goal of finding Su Yang and his little senior sister. Is little friend looking for someone? Old Man Du was surprised after hearing Yang Kai's words. Yen, my 2 senior sisters and 1 martial uncle. Yang Kai nodded. He didn't dare reveal the existence of the old demon, but since Meng Wu Ya was Xia Ningchang's master, he could be considered his martial uncle. Old Man Du's expression shook, thinking to himself that this was truly incredible. The behemoth behind Yang Kai suddenly had 3 successors, and obviously the identities of the other 2 women were also not trivial. Actually having a senior accompanying them, it was very likely that they were even more powerful than Yang Kai. If little friend is looking for someone, the guild can provide some help. This old master will send a letter to the other branches to pay attention. If there is any news, I will inform little friend as soon as possible. However, the guild has many trivial matters to attend to, so this old master can only offer his humble assistance. If little friend really wants to find them, he will have to find his own way. Many thanks, senior, this is already a great help. Yang Kai said seriously. Old Man Do hesitated for a moment before saying, "If this is little friend's wish, this old master suggests little friend rely on the nearby forces and ask them for help. With your status as a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist, I don't think any force will refuse you. No matter where you go, they will treat you as an honored guest. I have such an idea, but I am not familiar with the nearby forces, so I don't know which one to choose. I hope Senior can give me some pointers." He really wasn't familiar with the nearby forces, so if he joined a force with bad intentions, it would be difficult for him to escape. If not for being forced into such a situation, young Kai wouldn't have had such an idea. "So that's how it is." Old Man Do nodded slightly. Of the nearby forces, Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, Soaring Heaven Sect, Ancient Moon Cave Heaven, and Luo Sheng Sect can be considered the best. If you want to choose from these 4 forces. However, don't go to Luo Sheng Sect, those people aren't easy to get along with. As for the remaining 3, this old master has some friendship with these forces, so if I really want to choose one, it will be a bit difficult. Can I go to any of these 3 forces? Young Kai's eyes lit up. The reputation of these 3 forces is indeed quite good. Why don't you allow this old master to consider it carefully and give you an answer in a few days? Then I'll have to trouble Old Man Do. Little friend is too polite. The next few days passed uneventfully. Yang Kai continued to perform alchemy every day while Mina often came to ask him for advice. One day, when Old Man Do suddenly summoned him, Yang Kai put down what he was doing and came to Old Man Do's room. Yang Kai thought Old Man Do had made a decision and was going to recommend him to a certain force, but after opening the door, Yang Kai found that there was actually an unfamiliar face in the room. This man's aura was restrained and his eyes were shining brightly. As soon as Yang Kai entered the room, this man stared at him with great interest. A transcendent realm master. Yang Kai's heart clenched. Being able to give him such pressure, this man was at least a second-order transcendent. "Old Man Do," Yang Kai greeted. "Little friend, please sit," Old Man Do smiled. "Is this the new alchemist in the association?" The man looked at Yang Kai with interest and asked kindly. He's a spirit-grade alchemist with excellent aptitude," Old Man Do said seriously. "Spirit grade?" The man's expression changed as he stared at Yang Kai in disbelief. "This old master won't lie. I believe Old Man Do." The man nodded solemnly. "Little friend, allow me to introduce you. This is Elder Duan Hai of Bright Thunder Spirit Religion." Yang Kai nodded slightly to him in greeting. This old master has some friendship with Elder Duan. "I don't know where Elder Duan heard the news that you have entered the association, but after learning that you have entered the association, he came here today to ask you to serve as an honored guest in Bright Thunder Spirit Religion." Duan Hai smiled and said, "It's not that I've been monitoring your alchemist guild, it's just that my junior brother came to Grand Boulder City one day to handle some business and happened to see Mina and this friend enter together. Junior brother knew that I have some friendship with Old Man Do, so he asked me to shamelessly come here and ask, otherwise, someone else might beat me to it." Old Man Do laughed dumbly. Since Yang Kai entered the Alchemist Guild, he had only gone out once, but he had not expected to be discovered by someone with good intentions. This could only be said to be a coincidence. "I wonder if this friend is willing to enter my spirit religion?" Duan Hai looked at Yang Kai expectantly. A spirit-grade alchemist was already a very good rank, but what was even more valuable was that this person was very young and obviously had extraordinary aptitude. If he could make him develop a sense of dependence and belonging to the spirit religion, in time, he would surely be able to become a saint-grade alchemist. Such a level of alchemist had never appeared in Bright Thunder Spirit Religion before. This was a long-term investment. Duan Hai had the vision and the courage to do so. Chapter 676. Today, if this friend is willing to live in my spirit religion and serve as an honored guest, my spirit religion is willing to provide very generous treatment, Duan Hai said sincerely. Duan Hai said sincerely. Although he was a transcendent and was at least a generation older than Yang Kai in terms of seniority, he still cordially called him friend. "Brother Duan might as well tell me what kind of treatment you would like to offer first." Old Man Du knew that Yang Kai didn't know anything about this, so he took the initiative to inquire about Yang Kai. Duan Hai smiled wryly and shook his head. Old man Du, since he is one of your people, how can I squeeze him dry? With a serious expression, he turned to Yang Kai and said, the spirit religion will provide you with herbs, and you can take 20% of the value of any pill you refine as a reward. In other words, if you refine a spirit pill worth 100 crystal stones, the spirit religion will give you 20 crystal stones. Old man Du's expression changed and he nodded slightly. Yang Kai observed Old man Du's expression and knew that this treatment would definitely not be bad. This is just the most basic condition. The spirit religion will provide you with the most comfortable alchemy environment and prioritize meeting your needs. As long as it doesn't harm the interests of my spirit religion, anything can be agreed to. What do you think? After Duan Hai finished speaking, he looked at Yang Kai expectantly, waiting for his reply. To be honest, the conditions he proposed were already very generous. The 20% of benefits was not something an ordinary alchemist could obtain. Even if a spirit-grade top-rank alchemist was hired as an honored guest, they generally wouldn't be able to obtain such a percentage. If Yang Kai had any other requests, he could discuss them with him. Yang Kai frowned slightly, thought for a while, then looked at Old Man Du and asked, what does Senior think? The conditions are good, Old Man Du said honestly, but whether or not you want to go, it all depends on little friend's wishes. Since you are Old Man Du's friend, there should be no problem, Yang Kai grinned. In any case, he had already planned to find a force to rely on for the time being, so with Old Man Du's protection, he felt a lot more relieved. Duan Hai was overjoyed when he heard this and a smile appeared on his face. Friend really is easy to talk to. But the conditions need to change. Yang Kai changed the subject. I would like to hear the details, Duan Hai said solemnly. 20% of the profits. I don't want it, I only want 10%. Kai Yang raised a finger. Duan Hai and Old Man Du were both stunned, but they didn't interrupt and simply waited for him to continue. Since Kai Yang had taken the initiative to give up the benefits he deserved, it was obvious that he had other intentions. I hope you to help me of the spirit religion, sect, of course. Yang Kai didn't. What is it? Duan Hai asked. When the time comes, I will tell you. Moreover, I won't stay in Bright Thunder spirit religion forever. I hope that when I leave, I won't encounter any obstacles. That's easy. Duan Hai quickly nodded. My Bright Thunder spirit religion has more than one honored guest. Whether these honored guests stay or leave is entirely up to them. The spirit religion will never force them. No problem. Kai Yang smiled. Duan Hai was overjoyed. So it's settled then? Yang Kai nodded solemnly. Old Man Du smiled and said, congratulations brother Duan. In fact, this old master really doesn't want little friend to leave, but since little friend has his own matters to attend to, this old master can only reluctantly send him off. Duan Hai said meaningfully, how about Old Man Du come to my spirit religion as an honored guest? Isn't your appetite a bit too big? Old Man Du laughed dumbly. You actually want to hire this old master? A saint-grade alchemist, which great force wouldn't want one? I'm afraid you won't be able to afford it, Old Man Du said with a smile. Duan Hai's expression became bitter as he nodded, that's true. Shaking his head in distress, he turned to Yang Kai and asked, when is it convenient for friend to leave? I can leave at any time. How about now? Duan Hai asked with an impatient look. Yang Kai looked at him in amusement and nodded slightly. There's no time to lose, let's go, Duan Hai said and stood up. Allow me to say goodbye to a friend first. Yang Kai said before getting up and walking out the door to find Mina. These days, they had been getting along quite well, so naturally, he wanted to inform her before leaving, otherwise, it would be rude. Inside the room, Duan Hai and Old Man Du sat quietly. Suddenly, Old Man Du said in a low voice, Duan Hai, don't say this old master didn't warn you, this little friend is not an ordinary person. Once he arrives at your Thunder Light sect, don't neglect him. Duan Hai was stunned and quickly asked, what does Old Man Du mean? Wan slowly shook his head and no longer said anything. Duan Hai was confused. A moment later, Yang Kai returned and said goodbye to Mina. There was nothing he needed to pack up, so Duan Hai led him out of the Alchemist Guild. Mina waved goodbye to young Kai with a reluctant look on her face. During the time young Kai had been with her, her alchemy skills had improved by leaps and bounds, much faster than her own master had taught her, so naturally she was reluctant to part with him. Duanhai waved his hand and wrapped young Kai in pure Yuan Qi before the two of them quickly rose into the air and flew out of Grand Boulder City. Along the way, Duanhai's attitude towards young Kai was very amiable, overlooking the city below and introducing him to Bright Thunder Spirit Religion's foundation and riches. In order to quickly make young Kai feel a sense of belonging, Duanhai naturally spared no effort to praise Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. From his words, young Kai also learned a little about this force. Near the Snow Mountain Range, there were no less than 1,000 large and small peaks, and Bright Thunder Spirit Religion occupied a portion of them. After an hour or so, the two of them arrived at Bright Thunder Spirit Religion's territory. Landing on one of the mountain peaks, young Kai noticed that the air here was somewhat cold, but overall, it was lush green and filled with rich world energy. Halfway up the mountain, many herbs were planted and their fragrance filled the air. At the top of the mountain, there were a few simple houses. Duanhai said, "This used to be the residence of an honored alchemist of my spirit religion, but he resigned from his position a few months ago, so this place is currently ownerless. Would honored guest Yang like to live here? If you feel this place is too simple, you can also go to one of my spirit religion's gathering places. There's no need, this place is fine." Young Kai nodded, very satisfied with this place. He didn't need to make friends with anyone here. Places with a lot of people would also be filled with disturbances. It was far better to live a carefree life here. Hearing this, Duanhai smiled. Honored guest Yang really wants to achieve something in the alchemic way. I was really afraid you would want to go to a crowded place. Oh! Young Kai looked at him in amazement. Generally, honored guests who go to crowded places are those who like to pursue glory and wealth, power and fame. My spirit religion has never cared too much about such people. On the other hand, honored guest Yang's temperament is indifferent and will definitely achieve great things in the future. Duanhai smiled. Right, this is an honored guest's nameplate, please take it with you. With this nameplate, you will be able to travel unimpeded within my spirit religion. Except for some restricted areas, you can go anywhere. Saying so, he handed a dark nameplate to young Kai. Young Kai took it, glanced at it for a moment, then put it away. I will send someone to assist you later. If you have any needs, you can tell me through him. You can also ask him to help you with some things. Young Kai nodded slightly. If honored guest Yang has nothing else to say, this one will take his leave first. Duanhai looked at young Kai inquiringly. That's all. Duanhai nodded slightly, used his movement skill, and quickly left. After he disappeared, young Kai released his divine sense to investigate his surroundings. This mountain peak wasn't very high, but it wasn't short either, about 1,000 meters in height. Standing at the top, surrounded by white clouds, it was like a fairyland. The conditions weren't bad, young Kai thought with a smile on his face. According to Duanhai's words, from now on, until he resigned as an honored guest, this mountain peak would belong to him. Of course, the spirit grasses and spirit medicines growing on this mountain peak would still belong to Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. Young Kai first walked around the mountain peak, inspecting the several acres of medicine fields and finding that these herbs were all thriving and didn't need to be taken care of by him. Obviously, there were people taking care of them from time to time. The world energy aura on this mountain peak was also abundant, making it very suitable for cultivation. After inspecting his own mountain, young Kai walked around the nearby peaks. In the nearby peaks, there were also honored guests from Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. Everyone here was an alchemist, so they had many topics to talk about with each other. After learning that young Kai was actually a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist, these honored guests were all shocked and couldn't help sighing with emotion. Young Kai also learned a lot about Bright Thunder Spirit Religion from chatting with them. Overall, this force was quite good. Indeed, as Duanhai had said before, the treatment given to honored guests was quite generous. If an honored guest wanted to leave, they wouldn't force them to stay and would only send them off with generous gifts. Moreover, every honored guest had a capable helper by his side, and those helpers, without exception, were all beautiful women with delicate bodies. After living a lonely life for so many years, these alchemists naturally needed beauties. These helpers were all sent by Bright Thunder Spirit Religion to assist and serve these alchemists so they could meet all their requirements. Moreover, these helpers were all willing to stay here. It could even be said that in order to become an honored guest's helper, there would be internal competition within Bright Thunder Spirit Religion. After all, alchemists had noble identities. Being able to marry an alchemist was also their hope. On top of that, these mountain peaks were good places to cultivate. In a crowded area, there wasn't much world energy, so cultivating here would be of great help to the improvement of one's strength. Staying by an alchemist's side, there would be no shortage of pills for cultivation. These various benefits naturally attracted many people's attention. Yang Kai wandered around for 2 or 3 days in a row, visiting many of his peers and familiarizing himself with them. He also gained a good understanding of Bright Thunder Spirit Religion and saw just how big and rich this force was. The forces of the central capital really couldn't be compared to here. Not only was there a huge disparity in the cultivation of masters, but in terms of world energy, materials, secret arts, and martial records, Tongxian realm was far ahead of the central capital. After realizing these differences, Yang Kai couldn't help sighing. 3 days later, Yang Kai returned home. As soon as he arrived at the peak of his mountain, his expression changed. This was because he sensed the presence of a living being in one of the houses. Had the helper Duan Hai mentioned already arrived? Chapter 677. After carefully examining this person, Yang Kai's expression couldn't help becoming startled. He found that he seemed to recognize this person because her aura gave Yang Kai a familiar feeling. Thinking so, Yang Kai walked over to the room where the person was staying and pushed the door open. With a creak, the person who was meditating inside the room was obviously frightened and quickly jumped up, looking around vigilantly. After seeing Yang Kai's face, the person was surprised and asked curiously, "How come it's you?" "We meet again." Yang Kai smiled at the other party. He had not expected that the helper Duan Hai would send over was actually the woman he had met in the snow mountain range, Ji Meng. Her golden clothes couldn't hide her proud figure. She had an impeccable height, a magnificent bosom, slender and straight legs, and a ponytail that was tied up behind her head. It was dark and soft, reaching all the way to her waist and buttocks. She looked youthful, beautiful, and radiant. At this moment, Ji Meng was staring at Yang Kai in surprise, apparently not expecting to see him again. Suddenly, her expression changed. She looked around vigilantly and asked anxiously, "Why are you here? This is not a place you can come and go as you please." "Chem." Yang Kai was stunned. Without saying a word, Ji Meng rushed over and grabbed Yang Kai's clothes. "You are not my spirit religion's disciple. This is the residence of one of my spirit religion's honored guests. You should leave quickly. If he sees you, I'm afraid it won't be good." "Honored guest?" Yang Kai showed a strange smile. What kind of honored guest? Seeing her like this, it seemed she didn't know anything about his arrival. All she knew was that a new honored guest had moved in. He seems to be a spirit-grade alchemist with a very strong background. Elder Duan asked me to take care of him. As she spoke, seeing Yang Kai standing in place, Ji Meng couldn't help feeling a little anxious and stamped her foot. "What are you still standing here for? Do you want to die? Is it that serious?" Yang Kai's smile became more and more interesting. "It's very serious. Trespassing into my spirit religion's honored guest's residence, any spirit religion's disciple can kill you. What are those disciples guarding the mountain doing? Why did they let you in? Then why don't you do it? Why would I do anything to you? You're such a strange person. Hurry up and leave before he comes back. If he sees you, he'll be in trouble. If he sees you, it will be troublesome." Saying so, she tried to push Yang Kai away, her face filled with anxiety. "You're so anxious to drive me away. Are you afraid that honored guest will see you? Is that person a man?" Yang Kai raised his eyebrows and asked jokingly. Ji Meng blushed and shouted, "What does it have to do with you? Aren't you meddling too much? I'm just asking." Yang Kai shrugged his shoulders and grinned meaningfully. I heard that the helpers of your Bright Thunder Spirit Religion's honored guests will be able to satisfy all their requests, and there is even a good chance that they will be able to marry you. ISSST is honored guest SG Meng's tender body couldn't help trembling. Her beautiful eyes overflowed with panic as she shook her head. No, Elder Duan said that honored guest is not old, otherwise I wouldn't have come here. Although I don't know what kind of person he is. But he's definitely not an old man. You're really hateful. Why are you slandering others? Yang Kai stared at her deeply and nodded slightly. What do you mean? Nothing. Are you going or not? Don't force me to kill you. Ji Meng's expression became somewhat displeased. Yang Kai's pestering really made her feel quite depressed, so her tone became somewhat impatient. Good, I won't mess around with you. Yang Kai slowly shook his head, no longer in the mood to continue teasing her. Reaching out, he took out the black nameplate Duan Hai had given him before leaving and handed it to Ji Meng. Do you recognize what this is? Duan Hai didn't seem to have told you much. Honored guest's nameplate? Ji Meng couldn't help covering her mouth as she stared at Yang Kai in amazement. How did you? A complicated light suddenly flashed across her beautiful eyes as she asked incredulously, you wouldn't be the new honored guest, right? Yang Kai nodded and put away the nameplate again. Ji Meng was stunned. She had been waiting here for 2 days, wondering what kind of person this new honored guest was and how old he was, but she had never expected him to actually be Yang Kai. He was too young. Greetings, honored guest master. Ji Meng's expression was complicated as she quickly bowed. There's no need to be so formal. Yang Kai shook his head. Yang Kai shook his head. After Ji Meng learned about his identity, she had instantly become respectful, making him feel somewhat uncomfortable. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were the one Elder Duan was talking about. I thought you had sneaked in, I really didn't know, Ji Meng hurriedly explained. It's fine. Yang Kai glanced at her with a smile before turning around and walking inside. Outside the room, Ji Meng opened her mouth to speak but then hesitated, a look of annoyance on her face. She wanted to cry, but no tears came out. She had hoped to leave a good impression on this new honored guest, but she hadn't expected to overreach herself. Not only did she fail to leave a good impression on him, but she had also ruined their relationship. Thinking of how she had inadvertently revealed her thoughts just now, Ji Meng was filled with regret. She didn't know what he would think of her now, but in his mind, she had probably become a woman who would do anything for benefits. Bright Thunder Spirit Religion Headquarters. Inside a palace, Duan Hai, who had just settled down, hadn't even had time to rest when a person hurriedly walked in from outside. Duan Hai looked up and chuckled. Junior brother Shu, big brother Duan, what about the matter I told you before? Shu Qi quickly asked, a faint sense of urgency in his voice. Duan Hai smiled. Junior brother Shu, don't you usually not pay much attention to the spirit religion? Why are you so interested this time? But you did give me some good news, so I didn't disappoint and invited that person over. Really? Shu Qi heard this and was overjoyed. Naturally, he arrived at my spirit religion 3 days ago and is now at one of the peaks where honored guest lives. I have sent a female disciple with excellent aptitude to serve him. I believe he will soon forget to return, Duan Hai said as he stood up. Walking over, Duan Hai personally poured a cup of tea for Shu Qi and praised, Junior brother, this time it is all thanks to you. My spirit religion is rarely able to win over such a good seedling. He will definitely be of great use to us in the future. I will report this matter to the religion master and there will be no shortage of rewards for you. Shu Qi's expression was strange, not showing the slightest trace of happiness after hearing these words. Duan Hai saw this and couldn't help asking, what's wrong? Is there something else you want to say? Big brother. I won't hide it from you. The reason I asked you to personally invite him over was not because of his identity as an alchemist. Then why? Shu Qi released his divine sense slightly. After checking his surroundings and confirming that there was no one else nearby, he beckoned to Duan Hai. Seeing him act so solemnly, Duan Hai couldn't help becoming serious, quickly realizing something was amiss and leaning over to listen. It's because of the coffin-carrying man. Duan Hai's body shook as he stared at Shu Qi in amazement. After a long time, he lowered his voice and asked, what do you mean? What relationship does he have with the coffin-carrying man? I don't know. Big brother, do you remember the last time I took some people out, I accidentally encountered the coffin-carrying man? Of course I remember. The other disciples and I followed the coffin-carrying man. We arrived at Bold Independent Union's raging flame city. There, the coffin-carrying man stopped, and Big Brother should have heard about what happened next. I heard that the coffin-carrying man captured a disciple from Bold Independent Union and then disappeared. He wasn't a disciple of Bold Independent Union. After the incident, we found that this person's origins were unclear, but he had some kind of friendship with two female disciples from Bold Independent Union. The person who was captured by the coffin-carrying man was the honored guest that Big Brother invited back. What? Duan-hai paled. It really was him. Are you sure you weren't mistaken? Shu-chi also shook his head. To be honest, I really thought I was mistaken. When I accidentally saw him in Grand Boulder City that day, I could hardly believe my eyes. However, I am 100% certain that he was the one who was captured by the coffin-carrying man. How could such a thing happen? Everyone thought that after being captured by the coffin-carrying man, there was no chance of survival, but now that Yang Kai had actually reappeared, it was only natural that Shu-chi was concerned. Big brother, you also know what the coffin-carrying man means. There is a rumor that the coffin-carrying man is guarding a shocking treasure, enough to allow any great force to grow into a giant. This person was able to survive under the coffin-carrying man's hands. Perhaps he knows something about it. At the very least, he should know where the coffin-carrying man is hiding better than anyone else. If my spirit religion can obtain this treasure, we can sweep aside the nearby Soaring Heaven sect, Luo Sheng sect, an ancient moon cave heaven and dominate this world. That's just a legend. Duan-hai slowly shook his head. But it's worth a try. He's also a spirit-grade low-rank alchemist. Is that so? Shu-chi was also shocked. Ien, and Old Man Du of Grand Boulder City was very optimistic about him. Before he left with me, Old Man Du told me not to neglect him, saying that his origins may be extraordinary. Old Man Du said that about him? Shu-chi was surprised, but according to the information we collected more than a year ago, although his origins aren't clear, it doesn't seem to be a big deal. Not clear, but it's worth paying attention to. Duan-hai took a deep breath. Shu-chi also seemed to have been splashed with cold water, his restless expression quickly converging as he carefully thought about the information he had collected about Yang Kai before. Suddenly, he found that there were indeed many suspicious points. What you want to do, Big Brother can decide for himself. Whether you want to cultivate him to become a pillar of my spirit religion or give him a chance, Junior Brother will listen to you. Shu-chi no longer tried to persuade him and instead left the decision to Duan-hai. Such a young spirit-grade alchemist was truly a rare talent. It had not been easy to invite him here, so if they really offended him, it would be a great loss to the spirit religion. Duan-hai nodded slightly and waved his hand. Shu-chi slowly withdrew. After Shu-chi left, Duan-hai closed his eyes and fell into contemplation, his expression hesitant and difficult. The legendary name of the coffin-carrying man had been circulating throughout the continent for countless years, and there were countless rumors about him. However, many masters believed that the coffin-carrying man was hiding a shocking secret, and the blood coffin on his back was also something that many people cared about. If not for this, there would not have been so many transcendent realm masters following behind the coffin-carrying man, all of them wanting to pry into his mysteries. Chapter 678. It had been almost a month since he arrived at Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, and Yang Kai had gradually adapted to life here. When Ji Meng came last time, she had brought a lot of herbs to Yang Kai under Duan-hai's orders. Yang Kai refined every day, not daring to refine too many spirit pills so as not to attract unnecessary attention. He only refined 2 or 3 spirit pills a day at the speed of an ordinary alchemist. The rest of his time was spent cultivating himself or prying into the mysteries of the true alchemic way. After getting along with each other for a month, Yang Kai found that Ji Meng had become a lot more cautious. Whenever she faced him, she always gave off a sense of weakness and caution, a far cry from the casual and happy attitude she had displayed in the Snow Mountain range. Usually, she would just hide in another room and cultivate, so she didn't see Yang Kai many times. Yang Kai was busy with his own affairs and didn't pay much attention to her, which made Ji Meng feel very uncomfortable. Sometimes she wanted to find Yang Kai and talk to him to improve their relationship, but she couldn't bring herself to do so. One day a month later, while Yang Kai was meditating, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Ji Meng pushed the door open and entered, standing at the doorway and bowing politely. Honored master." "What's the matter?" Yang Kai chuckled and glanced at her casually. "It's time to hand over the pills you've refined during this time. I need to deliver the pills you've refined to the spirit religion's great altar." Ji Meng explained softly. This was one of the tasks Duan Hai had assigned her. Every month, the helpers of the honored alchemists would collect the pills they refined during this time and deliver them to Duan Hai for the spirit religion's internal use. Yang Kai nodded, took out the pills he had refined during this time, and handed them to Ji Meng. Ji Meng thanked him and took them, biting her red lips as she hesitated. Her expression was difficult. Yang Kai said casually, "I heard other alchemists say that as long as you have my permission, you can take a few pills for your own use, is that right?" Ji Meng nodded gently. Yang Kai smiled faintly, "Then take 5 spirit dans and use them yourself." Although the materials used in alchemy were provided by Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, when an alchemist was refining, there was a high chance of failure. Once such a phenomenon occurred, there was a high chance of failure. Then the materials would be wasted. Therefore, only the alchemist himself and his helpers knew how many pills the alchemist refined every month. In this way, before they were sent to Bright Thunder Spirit Religion's main altar, they could use some tricks. As long as it was within the acceptable range of the spirit religion, these alchemist guest elders would choose to withhold a small portion of the pills, using them as capital to train their own helpers. In this way, not only could his helper benefit, but he could also gain a good impression of him and make him assist him more attentively. This was an open secret, and Duan Hai was well aware of it, but he had never tried to stop it. This was because a small portion of the spirit dans that the alchemist masters had withheld were ultimately used on the disciples of the divine sect. Since these women with outstanding aptitude were sent here to serve and take care of the alchemists, Duan Hai also hoped that they could quickly grow up and one day become pillars of the spirit religion. Yang Kai was also chatting with the other alchemists. This was the information he had gathered. Hearing Yang Kai's words, Ji Meng couldn't help feeling overjoyed and quickly expressed her gratitude. "Many thanks, honored master. I will definitely make good use of these 5 spirit dans." She was only an immortal ascension boundary 8th stage cultivator, so the benefits these spirit dans could bring to her were enormous. Yang Kai didn't say anything more. Instead, he wrote down how many spirit dans he had refined this month. He asked her to bring them to Duan Hai. Ji Meng was extremely grateful and quickly left the mountain peak. After returning to the spirit religion's main altar, Ji Meng handed over the spirit dans and Yang Kai's receipt to Duan Hai. Duan Hai counted the number of spirit dans and nodded with satisfaction. Just as Ji Meng was about to leave, Duan Hai called out to her. "Is there something else, Elder?" Ji Meng asked curiously. "What do you think of him?" Duan Hai suddenly asked a question that Ji Meng couldn't understand. "He's alright, but he's a bit taciturn and doesn't communicate with others. I've been there for a month and haven't spoken more than 10 words to him." "You haven't spoken to him much?" Duan Hai was surprised. "Then did he ever?" Ji Meng blushed and quickly shook her head. Duan Hai's brow furrowed as he said with some displeasure, "You should be clear about the purpose of sending you there. These honored guests are the foundation of my spirit religion's development, but they are only honored guests and can leave at any time. You must firmly grasp onto him and make him willingly enter my spirit religion and become a disciple." "Disciple understands," Ji Meng nodded. "Are you qualified for this job? If not, I can send someone else. My spirit religion does not lack beautiful women." "Disciple will do her best," Ji Meng grit her teeth and replied. "Good, go. I look forward to your performance." Duan Hai waved his hand. Ji Meng left with a heavy heart. After she left, Duan Hai shook his head and turned to Shu Qi, who was sitting nearby and listening. "Junior brother, it seems that this person really doesn't intend to stay in my spirit religion for long. When I brought him here, He also said the same thing. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a hot-blooded young man like him to remain indifferent when faced with beautiful women all day long. This shows that he has his own persistence and purpose. This kind of person is always very assertive and difficult to control, Shuqi also sighed. But at that time, he said that when the time was right, he would need my spirit religion to do him a favor, but I don't know what it is. Duanhai was puzzled. What does senior brother plan to do? Let's wait and see. Bold Independent Union has already sent someone to inquire about him carefully. Such a young spirit-grade alchemist. I really can't bear to see such a thing happen. Shuqi also nodded in agreement. If possible, they didn't want to offend Yang Kai and were instead more than happy to make friends with him. After Ji Meng returned, Yang Kai obviously found that she was a bit depressed and seemed to have many things on her mind. Yang Kai didn't ask. It was normal for a woman to have things on her mind. Asking too much would only lead to trouble, so he continued to immerse himself in his own affairs every day. Although the friendship between Old Man Du and Duanhai served as a guarantee, Yang Kai wasn't stupid enough to trust Duanhai. During this time, Yang Kai had also been investigating Bright Thunder Spirit Religion, wanting to know if he could confidently ask this great force to help him find the whereabouts of Su Yang and his little senior sister. If it really didn't work out, Yang Kai wouldn't hesitate to leave this place. He definitely couldn't return to Bold Independent Union. So many people had seen him being taken away by Coffin Slave. If he were to appear in Bold Independent Union now, he would definitely become the center of attention. Suddenly, a sharp pain came from his shoulder blade as the hidden wind and thunder force inside him began acting up again. Yang Kai awoke from his meditation, but before he even opened his eyes, he smelled an intoxicating fragrance. Looking up in amazement, Yang Kai saw Ji Meng standing by his bed, staring at him faintly, a complex light flashing across her pair of beautiful eyes. "What are you doing?" Yang Kai asked in amazement. Ji Meng blushed, seemingly a little flustered, but she quickly calmed down, grit her teeth, leaned over, and sat down on the edge of the bed, squeezing out a reluctant smile as she whispered, "Aren't you even a little bit tempted?" "What do you mean?" Yang Kai's expression became strange. "What do you think?" Ji Meng stared at him intently. Even though her face was a bit shy, she still acted extremely boldly, taking the initiative to grab Yang Kai's hand and guiding it to cover her breasts. "Are you serious?" Yang Kai was shocked as he felt the firm fullness and amazing elasticity of her breasts. He hadn't expected Ji Meng to suddenly do such a thing. On the palm of his hand, a small bulge gradually hardened. Ji Meng's breathing became heavy as her cheeks burned as she swept her eyes over Yang Kai's lower body, her little hand trembling as she groped around. All the disciples who were sent here as honored guests were mentally prepared. "You honored guests can do whatever you want." Yang Kai grabbed her little hand and frowned. "Is this your will or Duanhai's order? Does it matter?" "Ji Meng, this is not your nature. Why make things difficult for yourself?" Ji Meng's expression froze for a moment before she ground her teeth. "Are you still a man? You're already like this yet you're still so indifferent." Yang Kai just smiled. "Whether I'm a man or not, I don't need to prove it to you. But last time at the Snow Mountain Range, you said you wanted to show me." Ji Meng approached him, her fragrant scent filling his nostrils, intoxicating his heart. "I don't like women who are too coquettish, but if you want to play with me, I can satisfy you." Yang Kai grinned. "Then let's play." Ji Meng glared at Yang Kai hatefully. Yang Kai's smile became even more wicked as he reached out and pulled Ji Meng over, placing her on the bed, his big hands covering her full breasts and rubbing them. "What are you doing?" Ji Meng was shocked. Just a moment ago this bastard had displayed a look of indifference, but now he was suddenly behaving like a beast. She really couldn't handle it. "As you wish." Yang Kai grinned evilly. "Then you have to promise me one thing," Ji Meng hurriedly said. Being rubbed by Yang Kai like this, Ji Meng's beautiful eyes suddenly blurred as she gently moaned, her cheeks turning pink as her tender body heated up. "What is it?" "After you take me, you have to join my spirit religion and become my disciple." "What if I say no?" "Then when you think it through, you can take me. Until then, except for this, you can do whatever you want." Hearing her haggle with him like this, Yang Kai's enthusiasm suddenly cooled. Frowning, he reached out and pulled her up, lightly saying, "It's late, Go back and rest. Ji Meng stared at him in a daze, her face full of disappointment and resentment. She found that she seemed to be a bit too anxious. With a complicated expression, Ji Meng quickly tidied up her messy clothes and slowly left. After she left, Yang Kai smiled faintly. He believed that after suffering such a loss, this woman wouldn't be so presumptuous in front of him again. Yang Kai originally had a good impression of this woman, thinking that she was open-minded, straightforward, and always spoke her mind. But now it seemed that it wasn't a good idea to have too much contact with her. It was best to keep a certain distance from her, so as to avoid being entangled with her in the future. Chapter 679. Time flew by and soon, Yang Kai had been in Bright Thunder Spirit religion for 2 months. 2 months was not a long time, but it was also not a short time. Yang Kai still couldn't make up his mind whether or not to rely on Bright Thunder Spirit religion to achieve his goals. During this time, Yang Kai discovered that Bright Thunder Spirit religion also had many shady dealings, which made him uneasy. After Ji Meng returned from the second spirit pill payment to Bright Thunder Spirit religion's main altar, she reported to Yang Kai, "Elder Duan wants to invite you to the main altar." "Oh." Yang Kai raised his brow. "What's the matter?" "Elder didn't say." Ji Meng shook her head. "He just wants you to go there as soon as possible. He has something important to discuss with you." "Ian, I understand." Yang Kai nodded. Duan Hai had not shown his face since bringing him here last time. As the great elder of Bright Thunder Spirit religion, he must have many things to deal with, something Yang Kai could understand. "Shall we go now?" Ji Meng asked inquisitively. "En." Yang Kai didn't delay and nodded before following Ji Meng in the direction of Bright Thunder Spirit religion's main altar. This was Yang Kai's first time going to Bright Thunder Spirit religion's main altar, so he was unfamiliar with the place and naturally needed Ji Meng to lead the way. After flying for a long time, they gradually arrived at a crowded place. Looking down from the sky, Yang Kai could see a large number of buildings and many cultivators wearing golden robes walking about. Up in the sky, there were also many people flying about, clearly in a hurry. The whole of Bright Thunder Spirit religion was full of vitality, with countless cultivators and masters emerging one after another. Yang Kai nodded repeatedly as he watched. Bright Thunder Spirit religion was not a great force in Tongxian realm, nor was it one of the top forces in the surrounding several thousand kilometers. At the very top was Soaring Heaven sect, a powerful force with a Saint Realm master presiding over it. Other forces such as Luo Sheng sect and Ancient Moon Cave Heaven were also stronger than Bright Thunder Spirit religion. Among these 4 forces, the Thunder Light sect was the weakest, but it still had a good foundation. This was a gap that Yang Kai's world couldn't compare to. As Ji Meng landed in front of a magnificent building, Yang Kai showed his guest elder nameplate. The disciple guarding the entrance hurriedly bowed respectfully, as if he had never seen such a young guest elder before. He frequently cast sidelong glances at Yang Kai with a shocked expression on his face. "You can go up from here. Elder Duan is waiting for you there," Ji Meng said. "You're not going?" "I don't have the right to enter," Ji Meng stuttered. Yang Kai nodded slightly. "Then wait for me here for a moment. We'll go back together." "Okay," Ji Meng replied happily. They went up the stairs one by one. After walking for a long time, Yang Kai finally arrived in front of the main hall. The door opened, and Yang Kai stepped in. Duan Hai was waiting inside. Seeing Yang Kai arrive, he quickly smiled and got up to greet him. "Elder Duan," Yang Kai cupped his fists and greeted. "Honored guest Yang, I haven't seen you in 2 months. How have you been?" "Not bad. Are my spirit religion's disciples attentive to your needs?" "If honored guest Yang is not satisfied with her, I can replace her for you." "I'm sure you'll be satisfied." "No need. Ji Meng is quite good." Yang Kai shook his head. "Then it's up to you." Duan Hai smiled and invited Yang Kai to take a seat. A disciple served him some fragrant tea. After drinking for a while, Yang Kai asked, "I don't know why Elder Duan asked me to come here this time. What can I do for you?" "I wouldn't dare." Duan Hai quickly waved his hand and said modestly, "There's nothing special this time. It's just that every honored guest has come to my spirit religion. Every time a guest comes here, I'll have a chat with them. Yang Kai's expression remained indifferent, knowing that the other party was trying to establish a relationship with him. This was a method all great forces use to win over people's hearts. I heard honored guest Yang say before that you cannot stay in the spirit religion for long. May this Duan ask if honored guest Yang has something important to do? Duan Hai asked with a smile, if there's something you need, honored guest Yang must not be polite. Just say the word and my spirit religion will help you. When the time comes, I won't be polite, Yang Kai chuckled. That would be for the best, Duan Hai nodded gently. Right, honored guest Yang said before that when the time was right, he would ask my spirit religion for a favor. May I ask if that time is right now? Yang Kai shook his head. I see, Duan Hai laughed heartily. It seems that honored guest Yang doesn't have much attachment to my spirit religion, nor does he have any intention of belonging to it. In fact, he even has some distrust. Yang Kai frowned as he stared deeply at Duan Hai, unable to help becoming a little vigilant. Duan Hai's words had a deep meaning. If possible, this Duan would very much like for honored guest Yang to join my spirit religion and become a part of it. Duan Hai's expression suddenly became solemn, however, honored guest Yang doesn't seem to have such an intention, and this Duan can't wait to find out the secrets of your body. Saying so, Duan Hai gently stomped his feet on the ground. Suddenly, with Yang Kai as the center, a series of spirit array lines appeared on the ground around him. These spirit array lines quickly shrank and rushed into Yang Kai's body. Yang Kai paled and quickly circulated his Yuan Qi. However, as soon as Yuan Qi moved, he felt a stabbing pain in his meridians, as if hundreds of millions of ants were gnawing at him. His physique couldn't help shuddering, and the strength he had just condensed instantly collapsed. Elder Duan, what is the meaning of this? Yang Kai didn't show the slightest panic as he examined his own condition while staring coldly at Duan Hai. Duan Hai shook his head in disappointment, a look of hesitation appearing on his face as he said, I'm sorry, honored guest Yang. In fact, this Duan didn't want to do this. A spirit-grade alchemist of your age would be a huge asset to my spirit religion, but unfortunately, you have no intention of joining my spirit religion. I believe that even if I try, I won't be able to win you over. Heh, Yang Kai laughed. Elder Duan, I haven't done anything to harm Bright Thunder spirit religion, have I? You really haven't. As I said, this Duan only did this because he had no other choice. Duan Hai shook his head heavily. Yang Kai's eyes flashed. Although he didn't understand the reason behind this, it was a fact that he had fallen into the other party's trap. The reason he had come to Bright Thunder spirit religion was entirely because of Old Mandu, so in this current situation, was Old Mandu involved? Thinking so, Yang Kai turned his eyes to the screen behind Duan Hai and coldly said, Can this friend come out? There's no point in hiding like this. He faintly felt that Duan Hai's sudden change in attitude had a lot to do with the person hiding behind the screen. Shu Qi was startled when he heard this, not expecting the other party's intuition to be so sharp. After thinking about it for a moment, he also showed himself. After seeing Shu Qi's face, Yang Kai suddenly understood. He had seen this person before. Outside Bold Independent Union's raging Flame City, he had seen him among the group of people chasing the coffin-carrying man. No wonder Yang Kai felt that the name Bright Thunder Spirit Religion was familiar. It turned out that he had heard Yun Xian mention it before. At this moment, Yang Kai suddenly understood. The root of all this was the coffin-carrying man, so that's how it is. Yang Kai smiled bitterly. Tongxian realm was so big, he hadn't expected that as soon as he came out of the mysterious small world, he would be targeted. Back in Raging Flame City, only a few people had witnessed the scene of him being captured by the coffin-carrying man. Who would have thought that something like this would happen today? Even if Yang Kai had been vigilant, he could not have avoided such a situation. Honored guest Yang should know that what you have is my unique seal, don't even think about breaking it. The more you use your Yuan Qi, the more uncomfortable you will feel. Duan Hai looked at Yang Kai with some regret and said, This Duan doesn't want to embarrass you, as long as you cooperate obediently, I promise I won't harm you. Yang Kai sneered, Elder Duan, aren't you afraid Old Man Du will find out and hold you responsible? Duan Hai shook his head. Although old man Du thinks highly of you, if he asks, this Duan has an explanation. Honored guest Yang doesn't need to worry about this. Yang Kai's brow furrowed as he realized that old man Du should not know anything about this matter, making him feel somewhat relieved. If even old man Du had plotted against him, Yang Kai could only blame himself for being too stupid. Feeling the cultivation of Duan Hai and Shu Qi, Yang Kai restrained himself and didn't act rashly. These two were both second-order transcendents, so even if he used his full strength, it would be impossible for him to escape from their grasp. What's more, this was Bright Thunder Spirit Religion's headquarters, where there were countless masters, and he was under the seal that sealed Yuan Qi. Blindly acting would only make the situation worse. May I ask why Elder Duan waited until today to act against me? You could have acted the moment I arrived. Yang Kai made up his mind to stall for time, looking for an opportunity to escape. Duan Hai helplessly said, this Duan already said that I think highly of you and didn't want to act against you, and old man Du also told me that you have a very strong backer. However, after 2 months of observation, this Duan discovered that you will leave sooner or later, and that you are not as simple as old man Du said, a little brat from some remote backwater village. So Elder Duan has nothing to fear. Yang Kai looked at him sarcastically. Duan Hai didn't comment. Honored guest Yang, I won't waste words with you. The reason I did this is because I want to know the secret of the coffin-carrying man. What happened after you were captured by him? How did you escape from his grasp, and where is he hiding? If honored guest Yang can tell me this, I can let you go. I don't know, Yang Kai chuckled. Killing people to silence them was something Yang Kai had done before, so naturally he wouldn't believe Duan Hai so easily. Since Duan Hai dared to do such a thing, he would not hesitate to do so. As long as Yang Kai kept this secret, Duan Hai wouldn't really do anything to him, but if he did, Yang Kai was certain he would become a corpse the next moment. Brother, don't waste your breath with him, a mere peak immortal ascension boundary brat. Let me use my soul-searching technique to dig out the secrets of his knowledge. See, Shu Qi walked over and said coldly. Duan Hai sighed, honored guest Yang, as you can see, this junior brother of mine isn't as good-natured as I am, his temperament is quite impatient. If you don't want to become an idiot because of my soul-searching technique, you might as well cooperate with me. One was playing the good cop while the other was playing the bad cop, both of them wanting to use words to break Yang Kai's psychological barrier and force him to obediently submit. Their intentions were extremely sinister. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.